Welcome to Lotus Whisper. Tonight, we invite you to step onto a gentle path, one that bridges the quiet sanctuary of your own heart with the vast, breathing world around you. We often believe that to heal the world, we must look outward, fighting battles and fixing what is broken. Yet, the ancient wisdom reminds us that the true journey begins within. By tending to the soil of our own consciousness, we plant seeds of peace that ripple across the universe. As you settle in, let go of the day's weight. Allow yourself to drift into a space where the boundaries between your inner silence and the outer world softly dissolve. Together, we will discover how caring for your mind is the greatest gift you can offer to existence itself. Please subscribe to the channel to hear more stories like this. The Whispers of Disquiet, Navigating the Troubled Mind. The evening air grows cool, and the shadows lengthen across the floor, signaling the end of the day's visible labors. Yet, for many of us, the setting sun does not bring an immediate end to the work of the mind. There is a time between the waking world and the world of dreams where the silence of the room can feel loud, filled not with sounds from the street or the house, but with the echoes of our own thoughts. This is the realm of the whispers of disquiet. It is a landscape we all know, a terrain we traverse often, sometimes nightly, where the worries of the world and the cares of our own lives weave together into a tapestry that feels too heavy to carry, yet impossible to put down. Tonight, we acknowledge this state not as a failure of spirit, but as a natural response to the complexity of being human. To care for the world is to feel its tremors. To care for our lives is to worry about their direction. But there is a difference between the care that nurtures and the disquiet that drains. We begin our journey here, in the midst of the noise, because we cannot find true silence until we understand the nature of the sound. Imagine, if you will, a vast and ancient forest. The trees are tall, their roots deep in the earth, their canopies spreading wide to catch the sunlight. In this forest, there is a path that has been worn smooth by the feet of countless travelers. One such traveler, a man named Jiro, found himself walking this path as the sun began to dip below the horizon. Jiro was a man of the city, a merchant who dealt in fine silks and spices. His life was full. His days were crowded with negotiations, with the clamor of the marketplace, with the demands of family and the expectations of his community. He was successful by all accounts, yet a profound unease had settled in his chest, a tightness that no amount of profit could loosen. Jiro had come to the forest seeking the Temple of the Floating Cloud, a monastery renowned for its silence. He believed, as we often do, that peace was a place, a destination to be reached, a location on a map where the air was different, where the mind would naturally fall quiet simply because the surroundings were serene. He walked with a hurried step, his boots crunching loudly against the gravel. Even here, surrounded by the majesty of the cedars and the gentle rustle of ferns, Jiro hurried. He checked the position of the sun anxiously. He worried about the darkness catching him. He worried about the shipment of silk he had left behind. He worried about the conversation he had with his brother 3 days ago, replaying the words, sharpening his retorts, feeling the sting of regret and the heat of indignation. The forest was alive with the sounds of twilight. The cicadas began their rhythmic drumming, a sound that usually heralds the cooling of the earth. To Jiro, however, the sound was an irritation. It was too loud, too persistent. It reminded him of the counting of coins, the ticking of time. A bird called out from a high branch, a mournful, beautiful note. Jiro barely heard the beauty. He only heard the interruption of his own internal monologue. He was walking through paradise, yet he carried his own personal storm cloud directly above his head. This is the nature of the troubled mind. It acts as a filter, distorting reality to match its own turbulence. When the waters of the mind are agitated, they cannot reflect the moon. They can only reflect the fractured, broken light of our own anxieties. Jiro felt that the weight of the world was upon him. He felt responsible for the happiness of his family, the success of his business, and even the state of the kingdom, which was rumored to be on the brink of unrest. These concerns were not trivial, they were real, but in his mind they had ceased to be problems to be solved, and had become a constant, low-frequency hum of dread. As Jiro finally saw the gates of the temple emerging from the mist, he let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. The gates were simple, made of weathered wood that had stood for centuries. He pushed them open and stepped into the courtyard. It was immaculate. The sand was raked into perfect, flowing lines around moss-covered rocks. A single stone lantern flickered with a warm, orange light. The air smelled of pine resin and old incense. It was the picture of tranquility. Jiro dropped his heavy pack onto the wooden veranda of the guest quarters and sat down, expecting the peace to wash over him like a cool rain. He waited. He closed his eyes. But the silence of the temple only served to amplify the noise within him. Without the distraction of the city streets, the whispers of disquiet became shouts. His heart hammered against his ribs. His mind raced faster, frantically searching for something to latch onto. Did I lock the warehouse? What if the rains come early this year? Why did I feel so empty when I sold that jade statue? Is this all there is? The quiet was not a comfort. It was an accuser. It highlighted his lack of peace. He shifted on the cushion. He stood up and paced the wooden floor. The creaking of the boards sounded like thunder in the stillness. He felt like an intruder in this holy place, a chaotic element that did not belong. An old monk, the master of the temple, was sweeping the veranda nearby. His movements were slow and deliberate. Swish, swish, swish. The rhythm was steady, unhurried. The master did not look up, but he spoke, his voice dry and light like autumn leaves. "The floor is not the only thing that creaks, traveler," the master said gently. Jiro stopped pacing. He felt a sudden surge of frustration. "I came here for peace," Jiro blurted out, the words tumbling over each other. "I came to escape the noise. But it is too quiet here. The silence is heavy. It makes my thoughts louder." The master stopped sweeping. He rested his hands on the broom and looked at Jiro. His eyes were clear, holding a depth that was neither judging nor indifferent. It was a gaze of total acceptance. "You have traveled far," the master said, "but you have not left the city. You have brought the market with you in your mind. You have brought your ledger, your arguments, and your fears. You are carrying a heavy load for a man who is just sitting on a porch." Jiro slumped against the wooden post. "I do not know how to put it down. The world is full of trouble, master. There is suffering, there is uncertainty. If I do not worry about it, who will? If I let my guard down, everything might fall apart. My mind is like a wheel that will not stop turning." The master nodded slowly. He gestured for Jiro to follow him. They walked to a small stone basin filled with water, fed by a bamboo pipe that trickled a steady stream from the mountain spring. The water was crystal clear. "Look," the master said. Jiro looked. He saw his own reflection. It was tired, the brow furrowed, the eyes tight with tension. The master reached down and picked up a handful of dirt from the garden. He dropped it into the basin. Then he took a stick and stirred the water vigorously. The clear water turned brown and murky. The reflection vanished, replaced by swirling chaos. "This is your mind right now," the master said softly. "It is agitated. It is clouded. Now, tell me, Jiro, what must we do to make the water clear again? Should we put our hands in and try to push the dirt down? Should we try to scoop the dirt out while the water is swirling?" Jiro watched the muddy water spinning in the basin. "No," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "If you put your hands in, you will only stir it up more. You cannot force the dirt to settle." "Precisely," the master smiled. "So, what must we do?" We must do nothing, Jiro realized. We must wait. We must let it be. We must let it be, the master repeated. But this is the hardest thing for the traveler to understand. You believe that your worry is a form of action. You believe that by churning the water, you are solving the problem of the mud. But you are only keeping the water cloudy. You are afraid that if you stop stirring, the world will collapse. But look. They stood in silence for a long time. It was not an empty silence, but a companionable one. The master did not rush him. He simply stood, breathing, watching the water. Slowly, very slowly, the swirling began to slow. The momentum of the agitation faded. The heavier particles of dirt began to drift downward. The water at the top began to thin, to brighten. The mud does not leave the basin, the master observed. It settles. It finds its place at the bottom. The water becomes clear not because the dirt is gone, but because the water has ceased to fight it. The dirt becomes part of the earth again, and the water becomes a mirror for the moon. Jiro watched as his reflection slowly returned to the surface of the water. It was still him, but the frantic energy was gone from the image. The whispers of disquiet, the master continued, leading Jiro back to the veranda, are like the dirt. They are the remnants of the day, the fragments of the world. You cannot destroy them. You cannot argue them into silence. When you fight your thoughts, you feed them. When you try to force your mind to be quiet, you are shouting at the wind to stop blowing. This teaching is crucial for us tonight. We often treat our anxiety as an enemy. We treat our racing thoughts as intruders that must be evicted. We lay in bed and think, I must sleep. I must stop thinking. Why am I like this? This is the stirring of the stick. This is the second arrow we shoot into ourselves. The first arrow is the stress of life, the bill that must be paid, the health concern, the conflict. That arrow hurts. But the second arrow is our reaction to it, the worry about the worry, the judgment of our own lack of peace. Jiro sat down again, but this time he did not try to force himself to relax. He thought about the basin. He thought about the mud settling. But master, Jiro asked, his voice softer now, blending with the evening breeze, if I just sit and let the mud settle, what of the world? Does the world not need my attention? Does it not need my care? Care, yes, the master replied, pouring a cup of tea from an iron pot. Worry, no. There is a vast difference, my friend. Worry is the mind spinning in circles, generating heat but no motion. It drains you. It makes you blind. When the water is muddy, you cannot see the bottom and you cannot see the sky. You are trapped in the murk. But when the water is still, when the mind is clear, then you can see. You can see what truly needs to be done. You can see the true nature of the problem. Action that comes from stillness is powerful. Action that comes from disquiet is often destructive. The master handed the warm cup to Jiro. To care for the world, you must first care for the instrument with which you engage the world. That instrument is your mind. If the instrument is out of tune, the music will be discordant, no matter how noble your intentions. Jiro held the cup. The warmth seeped into his cold fingers. He felt the ceramic texture, rough and imperfect, yet perfect in its utility. He took a sip. The tea was bitter and earthy. For the first time that day, he truly tasted it. He wasn't thinking about the next sip or the cost of the tea leaves. He was just tasting tea. The whispers will come, the master said, looking out at the darkening forest. The monkeys will chatter in the trees. The wind will shake the branches. This is the way of nature. Your mind will produce thoughts. This is the way of the mind. Do not be angry at the mind for doing what it was made to do. Just watch. Watch the thought rise like a bubble in the pond. Watch it burst. Do not chase it. Do not fear it. Jiro closed his eyes. He heard the cicadas again, This time they were not a noise interrupting his life, they were simply the sound of the evening. He heard the creak of the floorboards as the master walked away. He heard his own breath, a little ragged, a little shallow, but there. The disquiet was still there, lurking at the edges. The worries about the silk shipment hadn't magically resolved. The uncertainty of the future remained. But Jiro realized he was holding the glass of muddy water, and his arm was tired. He didn't have to pour it out. He didn't have to drink it. He just had to set it down on the table and let it sit. We often feel that we are the guardians of the universe, that if we cease our vigilance, the stars will fall from the sky. We carry the weight of global suffering, of societal discord, of personal ambition, as if we are Atlas holding up the heavens. But this is an illusion of the ego. The universe held itself up long before we were born, and it will continue long after we are gone. The sun rises without our permission. The seasons change without our supervision. To navigate the troubled mind is to surrender the position of general manager of the universe. It is to resign from the job of controlling the uncontrollable. It is to acknowledge that right now, in this moment, there is only this breath. There is only the sensation of the body resting. There is only the dark, velvet embrace of the night. The whispers of disquiet tell us that we are unsafe, that we are lacking, that we are behind. But these are just stories. They are the sediment of the past swirling in the present. When we acknowledge them without believing them, they lose their power. We can say to our worried mind, "I hear you. I know you are trying to protect me, but tonight we are resting. Tonight we are letting the mud settle." As Jiro sat there, the moon rose above the tree line. Its light spilled into the courtyard, illuminating the sand and the rocks. He looked at the stone basin. The water was still. The moon was reflected perfectly in its surface, a circle of pure, wavering light in the darkness. He realized that the peace he sought was not in the absence of the forest's noise, nor in the absence of his own thoughts. The peace was in the space around the noise. It was in the capacity to contain the noise without becoming it. The temple was quiet not because it was empty, but because it was vast enough to hold everything. So, as you lie here tonight, listening to these words, allow yourself to be like that stone basin. You do not need to force your thoughts to stop. You do not need to solve the puzzles of your life before you are allowed to sleep. You have permission to set the burden down. The problems will be there tomorrow, and you will be better equipped to handle them if you have rested, if you have let the water clear. Feel the bed beneath you, supporting your weight. The earth supports the building. The bedrock supports the earth. You are held by a force much larger than your worries. You are carried by the great, silent current of existence. The whispers may continue, drifting like dry leaves across a stone path. Let them drift. You do not need to sweep them up right now. You do not need to read the messages written on them. You are the path, not the leaves. You are the stillness, not the wind. In the story of our lives, this moment is a pause. It is a comma, a breath between sentences. The disquiet is a visitor, but it is not the owner of the house. You are the owner. And tonight you are closing the doors, dimming the lights, and sitting by the fire of your own presence. The storm may rage outside, or it may just be a gentle rain, but inside, the hearth is warm. Jiro eventually rose from the veranda and went to his room. He lay down on the tatami mat. The smell of the straw was grounding. He felt the fatigue in his legs from the climb. It was a good fatigue, an honest tiredness. He watched the shadows play on the paper screen of the door. He didn't push the world away, he just stopped holding it so tight. And in that loosening, in that gentle release of the grip, the first true tendrils of sleep began to curl around him. We are all travelers like Jiro. We all carry our baskets of stones. But we can also choose to set them down, even if just for a few hours. We can choose to trust that the water will clear if we stop stirring. We can choose to believe that caring for our mind, finding this pocket of stillness, is the most responsible, the most compassionate, and the most necessary act we can perform for the world. As we move forward in our journey tonight, we will learn how to anchor ourselves, how to find the breath that connects us to the present, and how to cultivate a garden where the weeds of worry do not choke the flowers of peace. But for now, simply acknowledge the disquiet with a gentle nod. I see you, you can say, but tonight I choose the stillness. The night is long, and it is kind. It asks nothing of you but to be. The whispers fade when we stop straining to hear them. The silence returns, not as an emptiness, but as a fullness, a rich, deep, resonant peace that has been waiting for you all along, right beneath the surface of the noise. Let the mud settle. Let the water clear. Let the moon shine upon the pool of your mind. The anchor of breath, finding stillness in the present moment. The night deepens, and the world outside retreats further into the shadows. We have acknowledged the whispers of disquiet, the restless energy that often accompanies us to the threshold of sleep. We have seen the muddy water in the basin and understood that the only way to clarity is through stillness. But how do we find this stillness when the mind is a kite caught in a gale? How do we stop stirring the water when our hands seem to move of their own accord? We need an anchor. We need a point of connection that is always present, always reliable, and always true. That anchor is the breath. In the vast lexicon of Buddhist wisdom, the breath is not merely a biological function, it is a bridge. It is the bridge between the body and the mind, between the conscious and the unconscious, between the inner world and the outer cosmos. It is the most constant companion we will ever have. From the moment we emerge into this world with a cry to the moment we depart in silence, the breath is there. It is the rhythm of life itself, rising and falling like the tides of the ocean. Let us return to the forest, to the temple of the floating cloud. The morning after his arrival, Jiro woke before dawn. The air was cold and crisp, biting at his skin as he splashed water on his face. His mind, though slightly calmer than the evening before, was already beginning to rev its engines. Thoughts of the day ahead, of the journey back, of the unfinished business in the city began to intrude. He felt the familiar tightening in his chest. He found the master sitting in the meditation hall, a large, open room with wooden floors polished to a dark sheen by centuries of bare feet. The master sat on a round cushion, his legs folded, his back straight but not rigid. He looked like a mountain, immovable, grounded, yet alive. Jiro quietly entered and sat on a cushion nearby. He tried to mimic the master's posture, but his body felt awkward. His back ached, his legs tingled, and his mind was a marketplace in full swing. "Master," Jiro whispered, unable to contain himself. "I am trying to let the mud settle, but my mind keeps jumping. It jumps to the past, it jumps to the future. It is like a wild monkey swinging from branch to branch. I cannot make it stay still." The master opened his eyes slowly. He did not turn his head. "You are trying to catch the monkey," he said softly. "You are chasing it. The more you chase, the faster it runs. You cannot tame the mind with the mind. You need a tether." "A tether?" Jiro asked. "Yes, an anchor. Something to hold you here, in this room, in this moment. Tell me, Jiro, are you breathing?" Jiro blinked. "Of course I am breathing. If I weren't, I would be dead." "But do you know you are breathing?" the master asked, a hint of a smile in his voice. "Or is the body breathing while the mind is in the city selling silk?" Jiro paused. He realized that until that very second, he had been completely unaware of his breath. It had been happening automatically, in the background, while his attention was 100 miles away. I suppose I was not aware of it," Jiro admitted. Then you were not fully here, the master said. The body is here, but Jiro is absent. Bring Jiro back. Use the breath as the rope to pull the boat back to the dock. The master instructed Jiro to close his eyes and place his hands gently in his lap. Do not try to control the breath, the master guided. Do not force it to be deep or slow. Do not judge it. Just find it. Feel the sensation of the air entering the nostrils. Feel the coolness. Feel the warmth as it leaves. Feel the rise of the chest, the expansion of the belly. Just notice. Jiro tried. He focused on the tip of his nose. He felt a cool draft. In. He felt a warmer flow. Out. In. Out. For 3 breaths he was there. He was fully present. But on the 4th breath, a thought intruded. This is too simple. How can this solve my problems? And suddenly he was off again, thinking about the complexity of his life, analyzing the technique, doubting the process. He opened his eyes, frustrated. I lost it. I drifted away. That is the nature of the mind, the master said kindly. It drifts. The practice is not about never drifting. The practice is about noticing that you have drifted and gently, very gently, coming back. Each time you return to the breath, you are strengthening the muscle of mindfulness. Each return is a victory. This is the essence of the practice we explore tonight. We often view meditation or relaxation as a state of perfect, unbroken bliss. We think that if we have thoughts, we are doing it wrong. But the anchor is not there to prevent the boat from moving at all. It is there to keep the boat from drifting out to sea. The boat will bob on the waves. It will swing with the tide. But the anchor holds it to a center. Let us try this together now. As you lie there, bring your attention to your body. Feel the weight of your limbs. Now, find your breath. Where do you feel it most vividly? Is it at the tip of your nose? Is it in the rising and falling of your chest? Is it in the gentle expansion of your abdomen? There is no right place. Just find your place. Now, simply watch the breath. Imagine you are sitting on the bank of a river, watching the water flow by. The breath is the river. You are not the river. You are the observer. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. It sounds deceptively simple, yet in this simplicity lies a profound power. When you are fully aware of your breath, you cannot be in the past. You cannot be in the future. The breath only happens in the now. You cannot take a breath for yesterday. You cannot save a breath for tomorrow. The breath is the ultimate expression of the present moment. By anchoring your attention to it, you pull your mind out of the time-traveling loops of anxiety and regret, and ground it in the reality of what is happening right here, right now. Jiro sat for what felt like hours, though it was only minutes. He struggled. He fought. He got bored. But every time he looked at the master, he saw that mountain-like stability. He saw a man who was completely at home in his own skin, completely at peace with the simple act of breathing. Think of the breath as a faithful friend, the master said later, as they walked in the garden. It has been with you through every joy, every sorrow, every success, and every failure. It has never judged you. It has never abandoned you. It simply gives and takes, gives and takes. It is the rhythm of the universe flowing through you. The master stopped by a large, ancient bell that hung from a wooden beam. He picked up a thick wooden striker. When the bell rings, he said, it vibrates, the sound expands outward, but eventually it returns to silence. The breath is like the bell. It rises, it falls, and in the space between the breaths, there is a tiny moment of pure stillness. A gap. Look for that gap. Jiro tried to find the gap. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. In those tiny pauses, he found a fleeting sense of spaciousness. It was a momentary relief from the constant chatter. It was a small window opening in a stuffy room. The anchor of breath, the master continued, is not just for the meditation cushion. It is for the marketplace. It is for the argument. It is for the sleepless night. When the world becomes too loud, when the demands are too high, you can always retreat to the breath. It is your portable sanctuary. No one needs to know you are doing it. You can be standing in a crowd, and while everyone else is rushing, you are taking one conscious breath. In that one breath, you are free. This is a vital teaching for us. We often feel trapped by our circumstances. We feel we cannot escape the stress until the situation changes, until the project is finished, until the conflict is resolved. But the breath offers us a way to step out of the storm while the storm is still raging. We don't have to leave the room to find peace, we just have to drop the anchor. Imagine your mind is a deep ocean. On the surface, there are huge waves. There is wind and rain. This is your daily life, the emails, the noise, the responsibilities. If you stay on the surface, you get tossed around. You get seasick. But if you drop down, just a few fathoms, the water is calmer. Drop down deeper, and it is silent. The storm on the surface cannot disturb the deep water. The breath is the weight belt that allows you to sink beneath the waves. As Jiro practiced over the next few days, he began to notice a shift. It wasn't a dramatic explosion of enlightenment. It was subtle. He noticed that when he got irritated with the cold water in the morning, he could catch himself. He would take a breath. He would feel the cold air in his nose, and the irritation would soften. It wouldn't disappear, but it would lose its sharp edge. He noticed that when he worried about his business, he could use the breath to interrupt the spiral. Inhale. Exhale. I am here, he would think. I am not in the warehouse. I am here. One afternoon, a strong wind blew through the valley. It rattled the shoji screens and whipped the trees into a frenzy. Leaves swirled in chaotic dances. Jiro watched the trees. The branches were thrashing wildly, bending almost to the breaking point. But the trunks were solid. They swayed slightly, but they were rooted. Be like the tree, the master whispered, appearing beside him. The thoughts are the branches. Let them shake, let the wind blow. But keep your attention in the trunk. Keep your attention in the breath. If you live in the branches, you will break. If you live in the trunk, you will endure. Tonight, as you seek sleep, you may feel the wind in your branches. You may feel the agitation of the day. Do not fight the wind. Do not try to hold the branches still. Instead, move your awareness down into the trunk, down into the belly. Feel the breath moving the belly. It is a slow, rhythmic movement, like a cradle rocking. Rising, falling, rising, falling. This rhythm is older than you. It is the rhythm of life that has sustained your ancestors. It is the rhythm that connects you to every other living being. When you breathe consciously, you are joining a silent chorus of life. You are not alone in your breathing. The trees are breathing with you. The animals are breathing. The earth itself seems to breathe as it cools in the night. There is a story of a Zen student who came to his teacher and asked, "Master, how do I enter the way?" The master asked, "Do you hear the sound of the stream?" The student listened and said, "Yes, I hear it." The master said, "Enter there." The stream is always flowing. The breath is always flowing. It is always an open door to the present moment. You can enter the way, you can enter peace, through the simple sensation of air moving in your nostrils. You don't need a special mantra. You don't need a complex visualization. You just need the air that is already there. Jiro found that the breath was also a teacher of impermanence. He saw that no breath could be held onto. He had to let each one go to make room for the next. If he tried to hold his breath, he suffered. He had to trust that the next breath would come. This is the lesson of life, the master told him. You must let go to receive. You must exhale to inhale. We cling to things, to money, to status, to youth, to opinions, like a man trying to hold his breath. We turn blue in the face, we struggle. But the secret is to exhale, to let go. And in the letting go, the new life rushes in. As you lie in the dark, practice this letting go. With every exhalation, imagine you are releasing a little bit of the tension you are holding. Breathe in calm. Breathe out tension. Breathe in silence. Breathe out noise. Imagine the breath is a soft broom sweeping through the corridors of your body. It sweeps away the tightness in your shoulders. It sweeps away the knot in your stomach. It sweeps away the furrow in your brow. The anchor of the breath is not a heavy chain that binds you. It is a stabilizing force that frees you. It frees you from the tyranny of the wandering mind. When you are with the breath, you are safe. You are home. Jiro realized that he had spent his whole life running towards something, towards the next deal, the next success, the next moment. He was always leaning forward. But the breath taught him to lean back, to rest in the back of his body, to rest in the support of the moment. The breath is always happening now. It is the only thing that is always happening now. Your memories are in the past, your plans are in the future, but your breath is here. When you find yourself drifting into a worry about tomorrow, gently say to yourself, "That is a thought," and then return to the sensation of the breath. This is reality. The thought is a ghost, the breath is real. The master once told Jiro, "The breath is the horse, and the mind is the rider. If the horse is wild, the rider cannot sit still. If the rider is frantic, the horse becomes nervous. They must work together. Soothe the horse with a gentle rhythm, and the rider will calm down." Tonight, soothe the horse. Let the breath become long and slow, not by forcing it, but by allowing it. Like a pendulum that is slowly losing its momentum, let your breath settle into its natural, sleeping rhythm. You might notice that as you watch the breath, the spaces between the breaths get a little longer. The pause at the bottom of the exhale becomes a place of deep rest. It is a velvet void, a place of nothingness that is full of peace. Don't be afraid of that space. Rest in it. Sink into it. The anchor holds. The boat is safe. The storm may be out there, somewhere far away, but here in the harbor of the breath, the water is lapping gently against the hull. Jiro, the man who brought the marketplace to the mountain, eventually found that he could bring the mountain to the marketplace. He learned that the sanctuary was not the wooden building of the temple, but the portable temple of his own conscious breathing. He could step into it any time, anywhere, and so can you. Right now, you are in the temple. The walls are the darkness of your room. The altar is your own heart. The chant is the sound of your breath. In and out. Deep and slow. Let the breath massage your mind. Let it smooth out the wrinkles of the day. Let it be the lullaby that sings you back to your true self. You are not your thoughts. You are not your worries. You are the awareness that watches the breath. You are the silence behind the sound. As we move deeper into this night, remember this anchor. It is always there. If you wake in the night, find it. If you feel restless, find it. It is your birthright. It is the thread of life. Follow it inward, deeper and deeper, until you reach the place where the breath comes from, the place of origin, the place of profound and unshakable stillness. The breath is the first step. It quiets the gross noise, it steadies the shaking hand, it clears the fog on the mirror. Now that we have dropped the anchor, we can begin to look around. We can begin to observe what is actually happening in the mind with a new clarity. We can begin to see the thoughts not as monsters to be fought, but as clouds passing in the sky. But for now, just breathe. Just be. There is nothing else to do. There is nowhere else to go. You have arrived. You are here. And here is enough. Feel the gentle wave of the breath washing over you, cleansing, soothing, relaxing. In, out. Peace is in every breath. Rest is in every breath. Sleep is waiting in the next exhale. Let go and let the breath carry you. Observing the flow, witnessing thoughts without attachment. The anchor of the breath has been cast. We have found a rhythm, a gentle rising and falling that connects us to the immediate reality of the present moment. But as many of you know, and as our traveler Jiro is about to discover, the mind does not simply surrender its habits because we have taken a few conscious breaths. The mind is a creature of momentum. It has spent years, perhaps decades, running on a track of constant commentary, judgment, and analysis. Even when the body is still and the breath is steady, the parade of thoughts continues to march through the center of our awareness. Tonight, we move from the anchor to the observation deck. We move from holding on to the breath to watching the flow of the mind. This is the practice of witnessing, learning to see our thoughts not as facts, not as commands, and not as us, but simply as events passing through the vast space of our consciousness. Let us return to the temple of the floating cloud. It was the third day of Jiro's stay. The novelty of the silence had worn off, and the deep, grinding work of doing nothing was beginning to chafe. Jiro sat in the garden, ostensibly meditating. He had found his breath, yes. He could follow the inhale and the exhale. But in the background, a radio was playing. It was the radio of his own anxieties. "I wonder if the shipment arrived," a voice whispered in his head. "I shouldn't have eaten that second bowl of rice," another voice criticized. "My knee hurts. This is uncomfortable. When will the bell ring? I am terrible at this. Everyone else looks so peaceful. I am a fraud." Jiro tried to push these thoughts away. He tried to mentally shout them down. "Quiet," he told his brain. "I am meditating." But the more he shouted, the louder the thoughts became. It was like trying to smooth out ripples in a pond with a flat iron. The effort only created more disturbance. He felt a rising heat in his chest, a frustration that threatened to make him stand up and scream. He felt trapped inside his own skull, besieged by a relentless army of trivialities and fears. The master, who had been pruning a small pine tree with delicate, snipping motions, placed his shears on a flat stone and walked over to where Jiro sat. He did not speak immediately. He simply stood there, his presence radiating a cool calm that contrasted sharply with Jiro's internal heat. "You look like a man trying to hold back a landslide with a paper fan," the master observed, his voice tinged with amusement. Jiro opened his eyes, letting out a long, ragged sigh. "It is hopeless, master. I find the breath, but then a thought comes, a memory of a debt or a worry about the future, and it hooks me. It drags me away. I spend 5 minutes lost in a fantasy before I even realize I have stopped breathing consciously. My mind is a marketplace that never closes." The master nodded. "Come with me." They walked out of the temple gates and down a winding path that led to the river. The river was wide here, flowing over smooth grey stones. The water was clear, but the current was strong, carrying with it fallen leaves, twigs, and occasionally a larger branch broken off from the trees upstream. The sound was a continuous, rushing murmur, a white noise that filled the valley. "Sit here," the master said, pointing to a grassy bank overlooking the water, "and tell me what you see." "I see the river," Jiro said. "I see the water moving. I see leaves floating by." "Good," the master said. "Now, imagine that the river is your stream of consciousness. The water is the flow of awareness, and the leaves, the twigs, the debris, these are your thoughts. They are your memories, your plans, your judgments." Jiro watched the water. A bright red maple leaf bobbed on the surface, spinning in an eddy before being swept downstream. Then came a cluster of brown pine needles, then a jagged piece of bark. "What do you do when you see a leaf?" the master asked. I just see it, Jiro replied. Do you jump into the water to try to stop it? No. Do you swim after it to see where it goes? No. Do you argue with the leaf? Do you tell it that it should be a pine needle instead of a maple leaf? Jiro smiled. Of course not. That would be foolish. It is just a leaf. The river brings it, and the river takes it away. Precisely, the master said, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Yet, this is exactly what you do with your thoughts. A thought comes, let's say, a worry about your brother. This is a red leaf. Instead of sitting on the bank and watching it float by, you jump into the river. You grab the leaf. You hold it to your chest. You say, why are you here? You shouldn't be. Here! Or you say, I must follow this leaf to the ocean, and suddenly you are wet, you are cold, and you are being swept downstream, gasping for air. The metaphor struck Jiro with the force of a physical blow. He realized the master was right. He didn't just have thoughts, he became them. He merged with them. Every time a worry appeared, he treated it as an emergency that required his immediate, total participation. The practice, the master continued, sitting down beside him, is not to stop the river from flowing. You cannot stop the mind from producing thoughts any more than you can stop the liver from secreting bile. It is an organ. Its function is to think. The practice is to stay on the bank. They sat in silence for a long time, watching the river. Jiro tried to apply the lesson. He closed his eyes, but kept the image of the river in his mind. A thought appeared. I am wasting time here. Jiro visualized this thought as a brown twig. He watched it drift into his field of vision. He felt the urge to grab it, to analyze it, to worry about his time management. But he resisted. He stayed on the bank. He watched the twig float past. It hovered for a moment in the center of his awareness, and then, slowly, it drifted out of sight. Another thought came. My back hurts. He visualized this as a heavy, dark log. It was moving slowly. He acknowledged it. There is a sensation of pain, he noted. But he didn't add the story to it. He didn't add, this will never go away, or I am damaging my body. He just watched the log, and eventually, it too floated downstream. This is the stance of the witness, the master's voice came softly, blending with the sound of the water. You are not the thought. You are the one who is aware of the thought. There is a space between you and the mental event. It may be a tiny space, just a hair's breadth, but in that space lies your freedom. This concept, the distinction between the thinker and the thought, is the cornerstone of finding peace in a chaotic world. We often say, I am angry, or I am sad. The language we use traps us. It implies that the emotion is the totality of our being. But the Zen perspective suggests a different phrasing. Anger is passing through me. Sadness is present. Imagine your mind is the vast blue sky. Clouds drift through it. Some clouds are white and fluffy. These are happy thoughts. Some are dark and heavy with rain. These are sad or angry thoughts. Some are jagged lightning storms. These are moments of panic or trauma. But the sky itself? The sky is never damaged by the clouds. The storm can rage for days, but when it clears, the sky is still there, untouched, pristine, limitless. You are the sky, not the weather. Jiro found that staying on the bank was difficult. Sometimes a thought would come that was so seductive, so interesting, or so frightening that he would forget the river and jump in. He remembered an argument with a rival merchant. The thought was sharp and hot. He cheated me, the voice said. He knew that silk was inferior. Before he knew it, Jiro was in the river. He was reenacting the argument. He was planning what he would say when he returned. He was feeling the anger rise in his gut. Suddenly, he realized he was wet. He realized he had been swept away. I am in the river, he thought. When you realize you have been swept away, the master said, as if reading his mind, do not judge yourself. Do not beat yourself up. That is just another leaf, A leaf that says, "I am a bad student." Just crawl back up onto the bank, shake yourself off, and start watching again. This is the gentle persistence of the practice. It is not a test of perfection. It is a practice of returning. Every time you notice you are lost in thought, you have already woken up. That moment of noticing is a moment of mindfulness. As the afternoon wore on, the sun began to dip lower, casting long, golden reflections on the water. Jiro began to see patterns in the debris. He noticed that many of his thoughts were repetitive. The same worries circled back again and again, like a branch caught in a whirlpool. "Why do they keep coming back?" Jiro asked. "Because you invite them," the master replied. "You offer them tea. When a worry comes, you pull up a chair and say, 'Sit down, let us discuss this for an hour.' You give them energy. You give them your attention. Thoughts are like stray cats. If you feed them, they will keep coming back. If you stop feeding them, if you just watch them pass without engaging, eventually they will lose interest and wander off." "But some thoughts feel so important," Jiro protested. "They feel like they are warning me of danger." "The mind is a survival machine," the master explained. "It is designed to look for problems. It is designed to anticipate threats. This was very useful when we lived in the jungle and had to watch for tigers. But now, the tiger is an email. The tiger is a bill. The mind treats them with the same adrenaline, the same intensity. You must thank the mind for its vigilance, but tell it, 'Thank you, but there is no tiger here. It is just a piece of paper.'" Jiro looked at the river. A large, dark shape was moving under the water. It looked ominous. A fear spiked in his chest. "What is that?" He watched it closely. As it came to the surface, he saw it was just an old, waterlogged branch. It wasn't a monster. It was just wood. "Fear often wears a mask," the master said. "When we turn away from it, the shadow grows huge. When we look at it directly, with the light of awareness, we see it for what it is. Usually, it is much smaller than we imagined." This is a profound truth for those of us lying in bed, wrestling with the what-ifs of life. In the darkness of the night, our worries cast long shadows. We think, what if I lose my job? What if I get sick? What if I am alone forever? These thoughts feel like monsters. But if we turn on the light of observation, if we say, here is the fear of the future thought again, we strip it of its power. We see it as a mental event, a firing of neurons, a habit of the mind. It is not a prophecy. It is just a thought. The master reached into his robe and pulled out a small, smooth pebble. He handed it to Jiro. "Hold this. Let this be a reminder. A thought has no weight. This pebble is heavier than your biggest worry. If you drop the pebble, it falls. If you drop a thought, it vanishes. You are the one holding it up." Jiro held the pebble. It was cool and solid. He looked at the river again. He felt a strange lightness. It wasn't that the thoughts had stopped, they were still flowing by, but he felt a distance from them. He felt a sense of humor about the whole production. "Look at that," he thought, watching a particularly dramatic worry about his reputation float by. "That one is very colorful, very loud." He almost laughed. "Laughter is a good sign," the master smiled. "When you can laugh at your own mind, you are free. You are no longer the prisoner of your own drama. You are the audience." As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of violet and indigo, the master and Jiro walked back up the path to the temple. The air was filled with the scent of damp earth and pine. Jiro felt a quietness that was different from the day before. It wasn't a forced silence. It was a spaciousness. His mind was still chatting, but the volume was turned down. The radio was in the other room. "Tonight," the master said as they reached the gate, "when you lie down to sleep, do not try to empty your mind. That is a fight you will lose. Instead, Imagine you are lying on the bank of this river. Close your eyes and watch the stream. If a thought comes, label it. Say, planning. Say, remembering. Say, judging. And then watch it float downstream. Let the current take it. Trust the river. And so, dear listener, we invite you to do the same. You are safe in your bed. The day is done. There is no action required of you right now. You are the witness. Imagine that stream. It can be a mountain brook, bubbling and clear. It can be a slow, wide river, moving with a heavy grace. It can be a stream of stars in the night sky. Whatever image brings you peace. Now, look at what is in your mind. Is there a worry about tomorrow? Visualize it. Give it a shape. Maybe it is a grey leaf. Maybe it is a little paper boat. Place it gently on the water. Don't push it. Don't blow on it. Just let the current take it. Watch it drift away. It gets smaller and smaller until it disappears around the bend. Here comes another one, a memory of something you said. Put it on a leaf, set it down, watch it go. Thinking, gone. You might notice that there are gaps between the leaves. There are patches of clear water where nothing is floating. Look at the water. Look at the clear, shimmering surface. That clear water is your true nature. It is the awareness that underlies everything. It is always there, flowing beneath the noise. If you find yourself getting hooked, if you find yourself suddenly planning your grocery list or rehearsing a conversation, gently smile. Ah, you say, I jumped in the river. And then climb back out. Feel the grass of the bank beneath you. Feel the bed beneath you. Return to the post of the observer. You don't have to solve the thoughts. You don't have to organize them. You are off duty. You are simply the one who watches. There is a tremendous relief in this. You can put down the burden of being the thinker. You can rest in the simple awareness of being. Jiro lay on his tatami mat that night. The thoughts came like moths to a lantern, but he didn't swat at them. He watched them flutter. He named them. Anxiety, regret, hunger, sleepiness. And as he watched them, they began to slow down. The stream became wider, calmer. The leaves became fewer. He realized that he was not the leaves. He was the riverbank. He was the stillness that held the movement. And in that realization, the grip of the mind loosened. The fists of the brain unclenched. The observer began to merge with the darkness, not in a way that was lost, but in a way that was vast. The river flowed on, but Jiro was no longer watching it. He was resting beside it, lulled by its rhythm, carried by the knowledge that everything passes, everything changes, and what remains is the peace that was there before the thought arose, and the peace that remains after the thought is gone. Rest now in that space, the space between the thoughts, the space of the witness, clear, open, free. Let the river flow. You are safe on the shore. Let the mind do what it does, while you do what you need to do. Rest, drift, sleep. The warmth of self-kindness, cultivating inner sanctuary. We have anchored ourselves in the breath and learned to sit on the riverbank, watching the debris of our thoughts drift by. Yet, as we observe the contents of our minds, we often encounter something sharper than mere distraction. We encounter judgment. We see our flaws, our mistakes, our perceived inadequacies, and our immediate reaction is often harsh. We criticize ourselves for not being calmer, for not being better, for not being more. Tonight, we turn to a vital ingredient in the recipe for inner peace, the warmth of self-kindness. Without this warmth, our internal landscape is a cold, barren tundra where nothing can grow. With it, we build a sanctuary, a safe harbor within our own hearts where we can rest without fear of attack, especially from ourselves. Let us return to Jiro at the temple of the floating cloud. It was now the fourth day. The initial struggle with the silence had passed, replaced by a fragile sort of calm. But beneath the surface, a new struggle was emerging. As the noise of the world faded, the noise of his own inner critic grew louder. Jiro sat in the meditation hall, his legs aching. He had been trying to maintain the perfect posture for 40 minutes. His back screamed in protest. His mind whispered, "You are weak. Look at the monk next to you. He hasn't moved a muscle. You are a soft merchant who cannot even sit still. You will never understand Zen. You are wasting the master's time." A grimace tightened his face. He shifted his weight, and the floorboards creaked loudly. He felt a flush of shame. "Clumsy," the voice hissed. "Disruptive." Later that afternoon, Jiro was assigned the task of raking the gravel in the courtyard. It looked simple enough. The monks did it with such grace, creating perfect, concentric circles around the rocks. Jiro took the heavy wooden rake and began. He pulled it through the white gravel. The lines were crooked. The depth was uneven. He tried to fix it, but his correction only made a mess of the pattern. He raked and re-raked, sweating, frustration boiling in his veins. "Useless," the inner voice sneered. "You can't even rake gravel. What kind of man are you? You fail at business, you fail at family, and now you fail at gardening." He threw the rake down with a clatter. He sat on the edge of the veranda, burying his head in his hands. He felt a deep, hollow ache in his chest, not physical pain, but the pain of self-rejection. He felt that he was fundamentally flawed, a cracked vessel that could hold no water. The master appeared, carrying a tray with 2 bowls of steaming soup. He set the tray down and sat beside Jiro. He didn't look at the messy gravel. He looked at Jiro's slumped shoulders. "The gravel is very forgiving," the master said softly. "You can rake it 1,000 times. It does not mind. It does not judge you. Why do you judge yourself so harshly?" Jiro looked up, his eyes red. "Because I am doing it wrong. I am doing everything wrong. I try to be peaceful, but I am angry. I try to be still, but I am restless. I try to make a perfect circle, and I make a squiggle. I am not cut out for this, master. I am a failure." The master handed him a bowl of soup. "Drink. It is miso with wild vegetables." Jiro took the bowl. The warmth seeped into his hands. He took a sip. It was salty and rich, grounding him. "Jiro," the master said, "imagine you are walking in the forest, and you see a small bird with a broken wing. It is fluttering on the ground, unable to fly. What do? Do you kick it? Do you yell at it for being clumsy? Do you tell it that it is a bad bird?" "No," Jiro exclaimed, horrified. "I would pick it up gently. I would try to help it. I would protect it." "And if you saw a small child crying because they dropped their toy, would you scold them and tell them they are stupid?" "Of course not. I would comfort them. I would tell them it is okay." "Then why," the master asked, his voice dropping to a whisper, "is Jiro the only being in the universe who does not deserve this kindness? Why are you the only one you are allowed to abuse?" Jiro was silent. The question hung in the air like a bell's resonance. He realized that he treated himself with a cruelty he would never inflict on another living soul. He held himself to an impossible standard of perfection and punished himself relentlessly for falling short. "We often mistake self-criticism for self-improvement," the master continued. "We think that if we whip ourselves hard enough, we will run faster. But the horse does not run faster when it is beaten. It runs out of fear, and eventually it collapses. True growth comes from nourishment, not punishment. You cannot hate yourself into a better version of yourself." The master gestured to the garden. "Look at this pine tree. It is twisted. Its branches are asymmetrical. It leans to one side. Is it a bad tree? No. It is beautiful because of its struggle with the wind. It is perfect in its imperfection. You, Jiro, are like this tree. Your struggles, your crooked lines, your wandering mind, these are not failures. They are the shape of your humanity. But how do I stop? Jiro asked, his voice trembling. The voice is so automatic. It speaks before I can stop it. You do not fight the voice, the master said. You answer it with kindness. You create a sanctuary within yourself where the critic is not the king. The master led Jiro to a small shrine room dedicated to Kannon, the bodhisattva of compassion. A statue of Kannon stood in the center, her face serene, her many arms extended as if to embrace the sorrows of the world. Sit here, the master instructed. Close your eyes. I want you to imagine that you are holding a small, fragile version of yourself in your hands. Maybe it is Jiro as a child. Maybe it is the Jiro who is tired and frustrated right now. Look at him. See his pain. See his effort. See how hard he is trying. Jiro closed his eyes. He visualized himself sitting on the veranda, head in hands. He saw the slump of his back. He felt the wave of sadness. Now, the master guided, instead of judging him, offer him a word of comfort. What would you say to a dear friend in this state? Jiro hesitated. It felt strange, almost forbidden, to be kind to himself. But he tried. It's okay, he thought. You are tired. You are doing your best. Say it with warmth, the master encouraged. Feel the warmth in your heart, like a small flame. Let that warmth expand. Direct it towards yourself. Jiro took a deep breath. I forgive you for not being perfect, he thought. I forgive you for the crooked lines. You are worthy of love, even when you are messy. A tear slipped out from under his eyelid. Then another. The dam broke. He wept for the years of harshness. He wept for the relentless pressure he had placed on his own shoulders. And in the weeping, there was a release. The cold ice of self-judgment began to melt in the warmth of this new, tentative kindness. This is the practice of metta directed inward, the master explained. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. Repeat these phrases. Let them sink into your bones. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. Jiro repeated them. At first, they were just words, but as he continued, he began to feel a shift. The tightness in his chest loosened. The enemy within was laying down his weapons. He wasn't fighting himself anymore. He was befriending himself. The sanctuary, the master said, is not a place where you are perfect. It is a place where you are accepted. It is a room in your heart where you can go and close the door and say, "Here, I am enough, just as I am." This is the sanctuary we wish to build tonight. We live in a world that constantly tells us we need to be more successful, more attractive, more productive. We internalize this demand and turn it into a weapon against ourselves. We lie in bed and review our mistakes. We tally our shortcomings. This is the opposite of rest. This is an internal war. To find true sleep, to find true peace, we must declare a ceasefire. We must lay down the whip. We must invite ourselves in from the cold. Imagine your heart is a warm, cozy cottage in the middle of a snowy forest. Inside, there is a fireplace crackling with golden logs. There is a soft armchair. There is a pot of tea. Outside, the wind of criticism is howling. The wolves of judgment are prowling. But you, the real you, are inside the cottage. And you are inviting the scared, tired, imperfect part of yourself to come in. Come in, you say. It's warm in here. You don't have to perform. You don't have to prove anything. Just sit. Just warm your hands. As Jiro practiced this self-kindness over the next few days, he noticed a profound change in his experience of the world. When he raked the gravel and made a mistake, instead of the sharp sting of "idiot," he heard a gentler voice. "Oops, let's try that again. It's just gravel." The tension in his shoulders dropped. The frantic need to rush disappeared. He found that when he wasn't fighting himself, he actually raked better. His movements became smoother, more fluid. The lines became straighter, not because he was forcing them, but because he was relaxed. Kindness is a lubricant, the master observed, watching Jiro work with a smile. It reduces the friction of life. When you are hard on yourself, everything grinds. When you are kind, everything flows. Tonight, as you lie here, you may be aware of parts of yourself that you don't like. Maybe you are in pain. Maybe you are anxious. Maybe you feel you failed at something today. Bring those parts into the light of your awareness. But do not bring them into a courtroom. Bring them into a nursery. Bring them into a place of care. Place a hand over your heart. Feel the warmth of your palm against your chest. This is a physical gesture of comfort. It signals to your nervous system that you are safe, that you are held. Say to yourself, silently and gently, "I care about this suffering. I care about this pain. I am here for you. You are not just the critic, you are also the comforter. You have the capacity to mother yourself. You have the capacity to be the best friend you ever wanted." Jiro realized that the sanctuary was portable. He could take it back to the city. When a customer was rude or a deal went sour, instead of spiraling into self-doubt, he could retreat for a moment into that inner cottage. He could take a breath and say, "This is hard, but I am okay. I am doing my best." This inner refuge gave him a strength that was unshakable. It was not the brittle strength of armor. It was the resilient strength of a willow tree that bends but does not break. The master told him a story one evening as the fireflies danced in the garden. There was once a monk who lived in a cave. He meditated for 20 years. One day, a demon appeared to him. The demon was terrifying, with fangs and fire. The monk was frightened, but he remembered his practice. He looked at the demon and said, "You must be very lonely to be so angry. You must be in great pain." The monk invited the demon to sit by his fire. He offered the demon tea. He treated the demon with absolute kindness. And as the demon drank the tea, it began to shrink. It became smaller and smaller until it was just a tiny, harmless lizard. The monk picked it up and put it in his pocket. "Now," the monk said, "you can stay with me, but you cannot scare me." Your inner critic, the master said, is like that demon. It looks scary, it roars, but it is powered by your fear and your rejection. If you offer it tea, if you offer it kindness, it loses its power. It shrinks. It becomes just a small voice that you can carry in your pocket without being ruled by it. Tonight, offer your demons tea. If a thought comes that says, "You didn't do enough today," answer it with, "I did what I could, and that is enough. Have some tea." If a thought says, "You are not good enough," answer it with, "I am learning, I am growing, I am worthy of love. Have some tea." Feel the atmosphere of your inner world changing. It is shifting from a cold, fluorescent-lit office of judgment to a warm, candle-lit room of acceptance. In this room, you can relax. You can take off the mask. You can take off the armor. You are safe with yourself. Think of the things you appreciate about yourself. Not big achievements, but small things. I appreciate that I'm taking time to rest. I appreciate that I want to be more peaceful. I appreciate my breath. I appreciate my body for carrying me through this day. Let gratitude be the furniture of your sanctuary. Let appreciation be the rug on the floor. When you fill your inner space with these things, there is no room for the harshness to echo. Jiro found that the more he practiced self-kindness, the more his heart opened. He felt a tenderness towards his own struggles that was almost sweet. It was the sweetness of reconciliation. He was ending the war. He was coming home. To care for the world, the master had said at the beginning, you must care for your mind. Now, Jiro understood. Caring for the mind wasn't just about discipline or focus, it was about affection. It was about treating his own consciousness with the same reverence he would show to a sacred object. Because it is sacred. Your mind, your life, your awareness, it is a miracle. It deserves to be handled with care. As you drift towards sleep, visualize that warm light in the center of your chest. It is a golden, honey-colored light. It spreads slowly. It fills your chest. It flows down your arms into your hands. It flows down your spine. It flows into your legs and feet. It flows up into your neck and face. Every cell is being bathed in this warm, accepting light. Every cell is hearing the message, you are safe. You are loved. You are enough. There is no condition you need to meet to deserve this rest. You don't need to earn it. It is yours. The sanctuary is open. The fire is lit. The tea is warm. Settle into the armchair of your own kindness. Pull the blanket of self-compassion up to your chin. Let the critic stand outside in the snow if he wants to. He cannot come in unless he takes off his boots and speaks softly. But you are inside. You are warm. You are the keeper of the sanctuary. And tonight, the sanctuary is quiet. The only sound is the crackle of the fire and the steady rhythm of your breathing. May I be peaceful. May I be at ease. May I sleep deep. Allow this feeling of being your own best friend to cradle you. There is no one else you need to be. There is nowhere else you need to go. Rest in the warmth of your own heart. Rest in the kindness that is your true nature. The world can wait. The judgments can wait. Here, in this moment, there is only love. Love for the breath, love for the body, love for the being that is you. Let that love carry you into the soft, welcoming arms of sleep. Extending the radiance, opening the heart to others. We have built a sanctuary of warmth within. We have learned to offer the cup of tea to our own demons, to soothe the inner critic with the balm of acceptance. The fire in the hearth of our heart is crackling, casting a golden glow on the walls of our inner cottage. But a fire, by its very nature, radiates. It does not hoard its heat. It spills its light through the windows, out into the snowy night, offering a beacon to anyone who might be passing by. Tonight, we explore how the kindness we have cultivated for ourselves naturally and inevitably begins to overflow. We move from the inner sanctuary to the front porch. We open the door, not to let the cold in, but to let the warmth out. This is the practice of extending the radiance, opening the heart to others, beginning with those closest to us. Let us return to Jiro. It had been a week since he arrived at the temple of the floating cloud. Transformation in him was subtle, but profound. His face held less tension, his movements were less jagged. He had stopped fighting the gravel and started dancing with it. He had stopped fighting his mind and started befriending it. One morning, as the mist was lifting from the valley, Jiro was sitting on a bench near the kitchen, peeling potatoes. It was a humble task, one he would have scorned back in the city as beneath his station. But here, he found a rhythm in it. Peel, wash, drop. Peel, wash, drop. Next to him sat a young monk named Kaito. Kaito was new to the temple, barely 18. He was visibly nervous. His hands shook as he held the knife. He dropped a potato and it rolled across the floor. He scrambled to pick it up, his face flushing crimson. "I am sorry," Kaito stammered. "I am so clumsy. I will never be a good monk." In the past, Jiro might have been annoyed. He might have thought, "Watch what you are doing, boy." or he might have ignored him entirely, wrapped in his own thoughts. But today, something was different. Today, Jiro saw Kaito. He saw the fear in the boy's eyes. He saw the tension in his shoulders, and he recognized it. It was the same fear he had felt on his first day. It was the same voice of the inner critic that had tormented him. I am a failure. I am not good enough. Jiro felt a sudden physical pang in his chest. It wasn't pity, it was resonance. It was the vibration of a string on a violin, causing the same string on another violin to hum. Jiro put down his knife. He reached out and gently touched Kaito's arm. "It is just a potato, Kaito," Jiro said, his voice warm and steady. "It does not mind being dropped. See? It is still a potato. It is not broken." Kaito looked up, surprised by the kindness in the stranger's voice. "I used to think I had to be perfect too," Jiro continued. "I thought if I made a mistake, the sky would fall. But the master taught me that the sky is very strong. It can hold a lot of mistakes, even dropped potatoes." Kaito let out a small, shaky laugh. The tension in his shoulders dropped an inch. "I just want to do it right," he whispered. "I know," Jiro said. "We all do. But doing it right includes being kind to yourself when you do it wrong. Here, let me show you a trick for holding the knife." In that moment, the sanctuary Jiro had built for himself expanded. It grew large enough to include Kaito. The warmth he had generated for his own suffering flowed effortlessly into the space between them, melting the ice of Kaito's anxiety. Later that day, the master found Jiro sweeping the steps. "You peeled the potatoes well today," the master said, "but you peeled the fear from the young monk even better." Jiro paused, leaning on his broom. I saw myself in him, master. I felt what he was feeling." "This is the beginning of true compassion," the master nodded. "It is not an intellectual idea, it is a feeling in the gut. It is the realization that other is not really other. The suffering you felt in your chest last week is the same suffering he feels today. The flavor is different, but the water is from the same ocean." The master gestured to the stone lantern that stood by the gate. A candle was burning inside. "Look at the flame," the master said. "If I take another candle and light it from this one, does the first flame lose anything? Does it become smaller? Does it become dimmer?" "No," Jiro replied. "It stays the same. In fact, the total light increases." "Exactly," the master smiled. "Compassion is the only resource that grows when you give it away. When you were kind to Kaito, you did not lose any of your own peace. You deepened it. You validated it. By telling him it was okay to be imperfect, you reminded yourself. This is a crucial insight for our journey tonight. We often think of caring for others as a drain, a depletion of our energy. We think, I barely have enough energy for myself, how can I give to others? But this view assumes that kindness is like money in a bank account, finite and limited. The Buddhist view is that kindness is like a spring. The more you draw from it, the more it flows. When you extend warmth to another, you are the first one to feel it. It warms you as it passes through you. Think of the people in your life, your family, your friends, your colleagues, even the people you find difficult. They are all carrying baskets of stones, just like Jiro. They are all wrestling with their own whispers of disquiet. They all have an inner critic that tells them they are not enough. When we understand this, when we truly see this, our judgment naturally softens into empathy. We stop seeing their actions as personal affronts to us and start seeing them as symptoms of their own struggle. Jiro thought of his brother, with whom he had argued before leaving the city. He had been so angry at his brother's stubbornness. He had replayed the argument 100 times, sharpening his retorts. But now, sitting in the quiet of the temple, he remembered the look in his brother's eyes. It wasn't just stubbornness, it was fear. His brother was afraid of the business failing. He was afraid of letting the family down. He is just like me, Jiro realized. He is scared. He is trying to protect what he loves, just in a clumsy way. Jiro went to his room and took out a piece of paper. He wrote a letter. It wasn't a letter about business. It wasn't a letter proving he was right. It was a simple note. Dear brother, I am at the temple of the floating cloud. It is very quiet here. I have been thinking about you. I know we disagreed, but I want you to know that I appreciate how hard you work. I know you carry a heavy burden. I hope you are finding some rest. I will be home soon. Let us drink tea and just be brothers. Jiro. As he sealed the letter, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders that he hadn't even realized was there. The knot of anger that had been tight in his replace, his stomach for weeks dissolved. He realized that holding on to anger was like holding on to a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. He was the one getting burned. By letting go, by extending the olive branch of kindness, he was healing his own hand. The heart, the master said that evening during the Dharma talk, is like a lotus flower. When it is closed, it is tight and hard. It protects itself. But a closed lotus cannot receive the sunlight. It cannot receive the dew. It must open. And as it opens, it reveals its beauty to the world. It gives off its fragrance. It does not choose who smells the fragrance. It does not say, I will smell sweet for the bee, but not for the fly. It just gives. But Master, a student asked, what if people take advantage of your openness? What if they hurt you? To be open does not mean to be defenseless, the Master replied. The lotus has roots deep in the mud. It is grounded. Compassion is not foolishness. It is seeing clearly. If someone is acting harmfully, you can stop them. You can say no. But you can say no without hate. You can say no with a heart that wishes them well, even as you stop their action. You can protect yourself without closing your heart. This distinction is important. Extending radiance doesn't mean becoming a doormat. It doesn't mean agreeing with everyone. It means maintaining a basic stance of goodwill. It means wishing for others to be free from suffering, even if you cannot be around them. Jiro practiced this radiance as he walked through the village near the temple the next day. He practiced what is called secret kindness. He looked at the old woman selling vegetables. May you be happy, he thought silently. May your knees be free of pain. He looked at the children playing in the dirt. May you be safe. May you grow up strong. He looked at the man pulling a heavy cart, sweating and grunting. May your burden be light. May you find rest. He didn't say these things out loud. He didn't need to. But the act of thinking them changed his experience of the walk. He wasn't just walking through a village of strangers. He was walking through a web of connection. He felt a warmth towards these people he didn't even know. And surprisingly, they seemed to respond. The old woman smiled at him. The children waved. The man with the cart nodded. Perhaps they felt the vibe. Perhaps Jiro's face was softer, his eyes kinder. Or perhaps, on some subtle level, we are all connected like roots under the soil. And when one root drinks, the whole forest feels it. Tonight, as you lie in the dark, let us practice this extension of radiance. We start with the sanctuary we built. Feel the warmth in your own heart. Feel the self-kindness. Now, bring to mind someone you love dearly. A partner, a child, a parent, a pet. Visualize them clearly. See their face. Imagine that the light from your heart is streaming out towards them. Like a golden beam of sunlight. Send them these thoughts. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you sleep well tonight. Feel how easy it is. The love flows naturally. It feels good to send it. It expands your chest. Now, bring to mind a good friend, someone who supports you. Send the light to them. May you be safe. May your life be filled with joy. Thank you for being my friend. Now, let's stretch a little further. Bring to mind a neutral person, someone you see but don't really know. The cashier at the grocery store, the bus driver, the neighbor you wave to. They have a life as complex as yours. They have dreams and fears. Send the light to them. May you be well. May you have ease in your life. May you be free from suffering. Notice how the heart can stretch. It is elastic. It doesn't break when you include more people. It gets bigger. And now, if you feel ready, bring to mind someone who is difficult. Someone who has annoyed you or hurt you. You don't have to forgive them or condone their actions right now. Just acknowledge that they too wish to be happy. They too wish to avoid pain. Their difficult behavior is likely coming from their own pain. Can you send a little bit of light their way, even just a flicker? May you find peace so that you do not have to cause suffering. May your heart heal. If that is too hard, that is okay. Return to yourself. Return to the sanctuary. Do not force the flower to open if it is not ready. Just the intention is enough. Jiro found that as he practiced this, the boundaries between self and other began to blur. He realized that his well-being was tied to the well-being of those around him. If Kaito was calm, the kitchen was calm, and Jiro was calm. If his brother was at peace, the business would be peaceful, and Jiro would be at peace. We are not islands. We are waves in the same sea. When the sea is calm, all the waves are calm. The world is a mirror, the master told him on his final night at the temple. If you frown at it, it frowns back. If you smile at it, it smiles back. But you must smile first. You cannot wait for the reflection to smile. But what if I smile, and the world still frowns? Jiro asked. Then you smile anyway, the master laughed. Because the smile is for you. The smile keeps your own face soft. The smile keeps your own heart open. And eventually, the mirror will change. Or you will stop needing it to change. This is the ultimate freedom. To be kind, not because you want a reward, not because you want people to like you, but because kindness is the nature of your being. The sun does not shine to get a thank you from the earth. It shines because it is the sun. It cannot help but shine. You are the sun of your own life. You have a source of light within you that is inexhaustible. When you worry, you are clouding the sun. When you judge, you are eclipsing it. But when you practice kindness to yourself and to others, you are letting the light shine through. As you drift towards sleep, imagine that your bed is a raft floating on a gentle, golden ocean of compassion. This ocean is made of the good wishes of millions of people. People who are wishing for peace, people who are wishing for health. You are adding your drop to this ocean, and the ocean is supporting you. You are not alone in your desire for peace. Right now, all over the world, there are people lying in bed, just like you, wanting to rest, wanting to be happy. Feel a connection to them. We are all in this together. We are all breathing the same air. We are all under the same stars. May we all be safe. May we all be happy. May we all sleep in peace. Let this feeling of universal goodwill wrap around you like a warm quilt. It is a protection. It keeps the nightmares at bay. It keeps the loneliness away. You are part of a vast, breathing, loving web of life. Jiro left the temple the next morning. He walked down the mountain path, back towards the city. But he did not walk with the hurried, anxious steps of the man who had arrived. He walked slowly. He stopped to admire a flower. He bowed to a passing woodcutter. He carried the silence of the temple in his heart. He carried the warmth of the sanctuary in his chest. And he knew that wherever he went, he would bring the radiance with him. He was no longer just a merchant of silk. He was a merchant of peace. And his first customer, his most important customer, was himself. but his shop was open to everyone. Tonight, your shop is closed for business, but the light in the window is still burning. It is a soft, steady light. It says, "Here lives a kind heart. Here lives a peaceful mind." Rest in that light. Let it soothe your tired limbs. Let it smooth your furrowed brow. Let it warm the cold corners of your thoughts. You have done good work. You have anchored the breath. You have watched the river. You have built the cottage. You have opened the door. Now it is time to rest on the porch, watching the stars, feeling the cool night air, knowing that you are safe, you are loved, and you are connected to everything that is. The radiance is yours. It always has been. Sleep now, in the glow of your own beautiful heart. Sleep in the embrace of the world you are helping to heal, simply by being kind. Good night. The interwoven tapestry, embracing universal connection. The light from our inner sanctuary has spilled out, touching those closest to us, our family, our friends, even the strangers we pass on the street. We have begun to see that kindness is not a finite resource, but a flowing spring. Now, as the night deepens and the silence grows more profound, we are invited to widen our lens even further. We are invited to see not just the individual threads of our lives, but the vast, intricate fabric into which we are all woven. This is the realization of the interwoven tapestry, the deep, undeniable truth of universal connection. In the Buddhist tradition, this is often called Indra's net. Imagine a vast net that stretches across the entire universe. At each intersection of the threads, there is a glittering jewel. And because each jewel is perfectly polished and reflective, it reflects all the other jewels in the net. If you look closely at one jewel, you see the entire universe reflected in it. And if you touch one jewel, the vibration travels through the entire web. Nothing exists in isolation. Everything is connected to everything else. Let us follow Jiro as he returns to the city. The descent from the mountain was not just a physical journey, it was a transition between worlds. He left the quiet of the cedars and the rhythm of the temple bells for the bustling, noisy, chaotic energy of the capital. In the past, this transition would have been jarring. He would have braced himself, putting up shields, preparing for battle. But this time, Jiro carried the mountain with him. He carried the realization of the net. As he entered the city gates, the sensory overload was immediate. Carts clattered over cobblestones, merchants shouted their wares. The smell of frying fish and horse manure mingled in the air. People pushed and shoved, rushing to their destinations. Jiro paused. He took a deep breath, finding his anchor. He watched the crowd. Instead of seeing a mass of obstacles, he saw a river of life. He saw the same anxiety he had felt in the forest reflected in the hurried steps of a courier. He saw the same desire for happiness he felt in his own heart reflected in the laughter of a group of women buying fabric. He arrived at his warehouse. His brother, Kenji, was there, pacing back and forth, a ledger in his hand. Kenji looked up, his face tight with stress. "You're back!" Kenji exclaimed, half in relief, half in accusation. "The shipment from the north is delayed. The silk prices are fluctuating. I don't know what to do about the dye supplier. It's a mess, Jiro." Jiro looked at his brother. He didn't see a nagging business partner. He saw a jewel in the net. He saw that Kenji's stress was connected to the weather in the north that delayed the shipment, which was connected to the farmers who grew the mulberry trees, which was connected to the silkworms, which was connected to the sun and the rain. "Peace, brother," Jiro said gently, placing a hand on Kenji's shoulder. "Let us have tea first." "Tea? We don't have time for tea," Kenji sputtered. "We always have time for tea," Jiro smiled. "If we rush, we will make mistakes. If we are calm, we will see the solution." He brewed the tea with the same mindfulness he had learned at the temple. He poured it into 2 cups. The steam rose in the dim light of the warehouse. "Kenji," Jiro said, "while I was away, I learned that we are not separate from the world. We think we are fighting against it, trying to wrestle profit from it. But we are part of it. This delay in the shipment, it is not a punishment, it is just the world moving. The rains fell, the roads turned to mud, the carts got stuck. It is a chain of events." "That doesn't help us pay the bills," Kenji grumbled, though he took the tea. "It helps us not to suffer over it," Jiro replied. "If we are angry at the mud, does the mud dry faster? No, we just get ulcers. But if we accept the connection, if we see that the mud is part of the same nature that gives us the silk, then we can work with it. We can send a message to our buyers explaining the situation. We can offer a discount on the next order. We can act with grace instead of panic." Kenji looked at his brother. He saw a calmness in Jiro's eyes that he hadn't seen in years. It was contagious. He took a sip of tea. He sighed, his shoulders dropping. "You have changed, Jiro." "I have just realized that I am not alone," Jiro said. "And neither are you." This realization of interconnectedness is a powerful antidote to the loneliness and isolation that often plague us, especially at night. We lie in our beds and feel like small, separate entities, cut off from the rest of the world, fighting our own private battles. We feel that our problems are ours alone and that the world is indifferent to us. But the teaching of the interwoven tapestry tells us a different story. It tells us that we are supported by a vast network of causes and conditions. Think about the bed you are lying on right now. Consider the cotton sheets. They connect you to the soil where the cotton grew, to the sun that warmed the earth, to the rain that watered the plants, to the farmers who harvested the cotton, to the weavers who made the cloth, to the truck drivers who transported it. Consider the wood of the bed frame. It connects you to the forest, to the loggers, to the carpenters. Consider the warmth of your room. It connects you to the energy workers, to the ancient sunlight stored in coal or gas, or the wind and water that generated the electricity. You are not lying in a bed alone. You are lying in the center of a web of effort, skill, and nature. Thousands of beings have contributed to this moment of your comfort. You are being held up by the entire world. Jiro began to see this web everywhere. When he ate his rice, he didn't just taste grain. He tasted the labor of the peasant, the water of the irrigation ditch, the heat of the summer sun. He felt a profound gratitude. He realized that he could not exist for a single second without the support of the universe. His breath was given to him by the trees. His body was given to him by his parents. His mind was shaped by his teachers and his culture. "There is no self that stands apart," the master had said. "There is only the flow of life. You are a wave. The wave looks separate for a moment, but it is just water. It is the ocean waving." One afternoon, Jiro was walking by the river that ran through the city. He saw a group of men dumping waste from a dye factory into the water. The water turned a sickly purple. Dead fish floated to the surface. In the past, Jiro might have shrugged. "Not my business," he would have thought. "I sell silk, I don't manage the river." But now, he felt a sharp pain. He saw the connection. This water flows downstream, he thought. It waters the fields. It is drunk by the people in the next village. It flows into the ocean. If we poison the river, we poison ourselves. He approached the foreman of the factory. He didn't yell, he didn't attack. He remembered the lesson of the secret kindness. He bowed. "Excuse me," Jiro said. "I am a merchant in this city. I see you are disposing of the dye." The foreman glared at him. "We have a permit. It's none of your business." "It is my business," Jiro said softly, "because I drink this water, and your children drink this water, and the fish breathe this water. We are all drinking from the same cup, are we not?" The foreman paused. The anger in his face wavered. It was rare for someone to speak of us instead of you versus me. It is expensive to dispose of it elsewhere, the foreman muttered, defensive but listening. I know, Jiro said. Business is hard. Margins are tight. But perhaps we can find a way. Perhaps the Merchants Guild can help. If we pool our resources, we can build a filtration system. It would be better for everyone. Cleaner water means better silk, better rice, healthier workers. Jiro didn't solve the problem that day, but he started a conversation. He pulled on a thread of the net. He showed the foreman that they were not enemies, but neighbors sharing the same fragile ecosystem. This is how the awareness of connection changes our action in the world. It moves us from selfishness to responsibility. Not a heavy, burdened responsibility, but a natural, joyful one. We take care of the world because the world is our body. We take care of others because they are our hands and feet. Tonight, as you rest, let this sense of connection dissolve the boundaries of your ego. The ego loves to build walls. It loves to say, this is mine, that is yours, I am in here, you are out there. But in the deep sleep of the universe, there are no walls. Imagine you are a tree in a vast forest. Above ground you stand alone. Your trunk is separate, your branches are yours, but underground your roots are tangled with the roots of every other tree. You are sharing nutrients, you are sending signals, you are holding each other up in the wind. If one tree gets sick, the others send it sugar. If one tree is thirsty, the others share water. This is not a metaphor, this is how forests actually work. And it is how humanity works, on a spiritual level. When you feel anxious, know that you are feeling the anxiety of the world. It is not just your anxiety. You are processing a collective energy. When you feel peaceful, know that your peace is radiating out through the roots, calming the person in the next room, the next house, the next town. Jiro found that this perspective made him less afraid of death and less afraid of life. If he was just a wave, then crashing onto the shore wasn't the end, it was just returning to the ocean. If he was just a thread in the tapestry, then his only job was to be a strong, colorful thread. He didn't have to be the whole tapestry, he just had to play his part. We are all walking each other home, the poet Ram Dass said. Jiro looked at the beggars in the street, walking me home. He looked at the rich lord in his carriage, walking me home. He looked at the stray dog, walking me home. There was a deep relaxation in this. He didn't have to compete, he didn't have to win. He just had to walk. He just had to be part of the parade. One evening, a great storm struck the city. Thunder shook the walls of Jiro's house. The rain lashed against the roof. Kenji was frightened. The warehouse roof might leak. The silk will be ruined. Jiro sat calmly by the candle. If it leaks, we will dry the silk. If it is ruined, we will sell it as seconds. If we lose money, we will eat rice and pickles. We will still be brothers. We will still be alive. He looked out the window at the storm. He saw the lightning illuminate the sky, connecting heaven and earth in a jagged bolt of energy. The storm is also part of the net, Jiro whispered. It clears the air, it brings water, it tests the trees. He invited Kenji to sit with him. Listen to the thunder, Jiro said. It is the voice of the dragon. It is powerful. Do not shrink from it. Respect it. They sat together in the dark, listening to the raw power of nature. And in that shared listening, the fear evaporated. They were just two small specks in a vast, swirling universe. And somehow, that was comforting. It meant they didn't have to be in control. Tonight, you can let go of control. You don't have to hold the world together. The net is holding you. The gravity that holds you to the bed is the same gravity that holds the moon in orbit. The air you breathe is the same air that circulates around the globe. You are intimately connected to the stars, to the oceans, to the mountains. Feel this connection in your body. Feel the heaviness of your bones. That is the element of earth. You are made of stardust and soil. Feel the moisture in your mouth. That is the element of water. You are made of rain and rivers. Feel the warmth of your skin. That is the element of fire. You are made of sunlight. Feel the breath in your lungs. That is the element of air. You are made of wind. Feel the space in your mind. That is the element of space. You are made of the void. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe, expressing itself as a human being for a little while. You are the universe experiencing itself, as the philosopher Alan Watts said. Let this thought expand your mind. Let the walls of your room dissolve. Imagine the roof opening up. Imagine you are floating in the vast, starry sky. You are connected to every star by an invisible thread of light. You are connected to every planet. You are connected to every other dreamer. There is a great, silent hum of existence. Om, the sound of the universe vibrating. Can you hear it in the silence? It is a low, steady thrum, the sound of life happening. Jiro, back in the city, became a hub of this connection. People came to his shop not just for silk, but for the atmosphere. They felt better when they were around him. He listened to them, he saw them, he treated them as if they were the most important person in the world. Because in that moment, in the net of connection, they were. He didn't preach. He didn't tell them to meditate. He just poured tea. He just offered a fair price. He just smiled with his eyes. And the city, in its own small way, began to change around him. The ripples from his stone of peace were spreading. You, too, are a stone in the pond. Your peace matters. Your rest matters. By sleeping well tonight, you are contributing to the sanity of the world tomorrow. You are recharging a battery that powers the network of kindness. So do not feel guilty for resting. Do not feel that you should be doing something else. This is the most important work. To settle, to clear the water, to polish the jewel, so that tomorrow you can reflect the light a little more brightly. As you drift deeper, visualize the net of jewels. See them shimmering in the dark, millions of lights, and see yourself as one of those lights. You are shining. You are supported by the threads. You are held. You are home. The tapestry is complete. No thread is out of place. Even the dark threads, the sorrow, the pain, add depth to the pattern. Even the knotted threads, the confusion, the struggle, add texture. It is all one masterpiece, and you are an essential part of it. Rest in the knowledge of your belonging. You belong here. You belong to this earth. You belong to this life. Let the web cradle you. Let the connections hold you. Drift on the waves of the great ocean. We are all swimming together. We are all dreaming together. Sleep now. Deep, connected, peaceful sleep. The universe is breathing you. The universe is dreaming you. You are safe in the net of Indra. Good night. Action born of stillness, the path of skillful engagement. We have journeyed deep into the sanctuary of the self, warmed our hands by the fire of kindness, and looked up to see the vast, shimmering net of stars that connects us all. We have understood that we are not isolated fragments, but integral threads in the tapestry of existence. But a question remains, one that often troubles the seeker of peace. If I am so peaceful, if I am so accepting, do I simply become passive? Do I sit on my cushion while the world burns? The answer from the Zen tradition is a resounding no. In fact, true action, skillful, effective, transformative action, can only be born from stillness. When we act from a place of agitation, fear, or anger, we often create more chaos, even with the best intentions. But when we act from the center of the cyclone, from the eye of the storm, where the air is clear, Our actions have the precision of a master swordsman and the gentleness of a falling leaf. This is the path of Wu Wei, effortless action, or action born of non-action. Let us return to Jiro in the bustling city. The seasons had turned. The humid heat of summer had given way to the crisp winds of autumn. The leaves on the maples were turning the color of fire and old gold. Jiro's business was thriving, not because he was pushing harder, but because he was steering with a lighter hand. One morning, a crisis struck the merchant district. A fire broke out in a warehouse 2 streets away. The alarm bells rang. Clang, 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 shattering the morning calm. Panic swept through the streets like a contagion. People ran screaming, clutching their valuables. Carts blocked the narrow alleys. The smoke billowed thick and black, choking the sky. Jiro was in his shop when he heard the bells. His first instinct, the old instinct, surged up. Run! Save the silk! Panic! His heart hammered against his ribs. But in the space of a single breath, the anchor he had practiced so diligently, he caught the reaction. He saw the panic leaf floating down the river. He didn't grab it. Instead, he stopped. He stood perfectly still for 3 seconds. He felt his feet on the floor. He felt the breath in his belly. He dropped into the deep water beneath the waves. In that stillness, clarity emerged. He looked at his brother, Kenji, who was frantically stuffing ledgers into a bag, his hands shaking so hard he dropped them. "Kenji," Jiro said, his voice cutting through the noise not with volume, but with depth. "Stop." Kenji looked up, eyes wide with terror. "The fire! It's coming!" "The wind is blowing from the north," Jiro said calmly, observing the smoke. "The fire is moving away from us. We are not in immediate danger. But the alleyway is blocked. If we run now, we will be trampled." Jiro's calmness acted as a breakwater. Kenji stopped shaking. He looked at the smoke. He saw that Jiro was right. "What do we do?" Kenji asked. "We help," Jiro said. Jiro went out into the street. It was chaos. A water bucket brigade was trying to form, but people were shouting conflicting orders. "Over here! No, save the timber yard! Where are the buckets?" It was a knot of confusion. Jiro didn't shout. He didn't add to the noise. He walked into the center of the knot. He found the man who seemed to be the bucket leader, a burly carpenter who was red-faced and screaming. Jiro placed a hand on the man's arm, a firm, grounding touch. "The well is that way," Jiro said, pointing clearly. "Form the line here, past the buckets to the left." He spoke with such absolute certainty, such lack of panic, that the carpenter stopped screaming and listened. The authority of stillness is magnetic. In a room full of screaming people, the whisper is the loudest sound. "You heard him," the carpenter bellowed. "Line up, to the well." Jiro didn't stop there. He saw an old woman struggling to move a heavy cart that was blocking the firefighters. She was weeping, pushing futilely. 2 men were yelling at her to move. Jiro walked over. He didn't yell at the men. He didn't yell at the woman. He simply put his shoulder to the wheel. "Together," he said to the men. 1, 2, 3. Shamed by his quiet action, the men stopped yelling and pushed. The cart rolled aside. The path was clear. For the next 3 hours, Jiro moved through the chaos like a dancer. He didn't run. He didn't waste energy. He saw what was needed. A bucket here, a clear path there, a calming word to a frightened child. And he did it. He was efficient. He was tireless. He wasn't acting out of fear of the fire. He was acting out of love for the city. He was acting out of the clear seeing of the interwoven tapestry. That burning house is my house. That frightened child is my child. When the fire was finally extinguished, Jiro was covered in soot, his robes ruined. He sat on a crate, drinking water from a ladle. He was exhausted, but he was not depleted. There is a difference. The exhaustion of anxiety drains the soul. The exhaustion of service fills it. Kenji sat beside him, also sooty. "I have never seen you like that," Kenji said in awe. You were like the master." "I was just there," Jiro shrugged. "I didn't think about it. The situation asked for a bucket, I passed a bucket. The situation asked for a push, I pushed." This is the essence of action born of stillness. It is action that is responsive, not reactive. Reactive action comes from the ego. I must save my things. I must look like a hero. I must blame someone for the fire. Responsive action comes from the situation itself. It is the universe acting through you. You become a hollow bamboo flute, and the breath of life plays the music that is needed in that moment. We often think we need to get pumped up to deal with life's challenges. We drink coffee, we listen to aggressive music, we psych ourselves up. We think stress is a fuel, but stress is a dirty fuel. It produces a lot of smoke and eventually ruins the engine. Stillness is a clean fuel. It burns bright and hot, but without smoke. It allows you to sustain effort for much longer. Think of a surgeon in the operating room. If there is a complication, do you want the surgeon to panic? Do you want them to scream, "Oh no, what do I do?" Do you want them to rush? No. You want them to be absolutely still inside. You want their hands to move with deliberate, calm precision. You want them to see the problem clearly, without the distortion of fear. The surgeon's stillness is what saves the patient's life. Tonight, as you review your day, look at the actions you took. Which ones came from a place of rushing, of "I have to," of anxiety? And which ones came from a place of flow, of "this is what is needed," of calm? You will likely find that the actions born of stillness were more effective. The email written in a calm state was clearer. The conversation had with a settled mind was more productive. There is a famous Zen story about a master archer. When he shot for fun, he was the best in the kingdom. He hit the bullseye every time. But when he shot for a prize of gold, his hands shook. He missed. When he shot to save his life, he couldn't even draw the bow. His skill hadn't changed, but his mind had. When the self got involved, the desire to win, the fear of losing, the stillness was broken and the action became clumsy. Jiro learned that to be a master merchant, he had to stop caring about the gold. He had to care about the trade. He had to care about the quality of the silk, the fairness of the price, the relationship with the customer. When he focused on the process, the gold came naturally. When he focused on the gold, he made mistakes. This applies to our sleep as well. If you try to sleep because you must sleep, because you have a big meeting tomorrow and you are terrified of being tired, sleep will flee from you. You are shooting for the gold. You are tight. But if you approach sleep with the attitude of wu wei, of non-striving, it comes. I will just lie here, you say. I will rest my body. If sleep comes, good. If not, I will enjoy the darkness and the quiet. In that surrender, in that stillness, the action of sleeping happens by itself. Jiro's skillful engagement didn't stop at the fire. He began to apply it to the social problems of the city. He saw the beggars near the bridge. In the past, he would have thrown a coin and walked away quickly, motivated by guilt or a desire to be seen as generous. Now he stopped. He looked at them. He saw that throwing coins was a temporary fix. He used his stillness to think creatively. What is needed here? He asked the silence. The answer came, dignity, work, connection. He started a small program in his warehouse. He hired 3 of the beggars to sort scraps of silk and weave them into simple rugs. He didn't do it as a charity. He did it as a business. He treated them as employees, not recipients. He expected them to show up on time. He paid them a fair wage. Because he acted from respect, not pity, the men responded. They stood taller. They washed their faces. They took pride in the rugs. The action was small, but the ripple was huge. It changed the lives of 3 men and their families. When you act from the ego, the master had told him, you are like a man throwing a stone into a pond. You make a splash, but the water eventually returns to where it was. When you act from the Tao, from the stillness, you are like the moon pulling the tide. The whole ocean moves, but there is no splash. We often feel overwhelmed by the problems of the world. Climate change, poverty, injustice. We feel we must do something to make a difference. And because we can't do something huge, we do nothing. Or we doom scroll on our phones, paralyzed by anxiety. This is the trap of the hero mindset. The path of skillful engagement asks us to do the small thing that is right in front of us, but to do it with great presence. Wash the dish. Listen to your child. Write the email. Vote. Plant a seed. Pick up the trash. Do these things not to save the world, but because they are the appropriate response to the moment. When you pick up a piece of trash, do it with the same reverence as lighting incense. You are caring for the earth. You are aligning yourself with order and beauty. That action, born of stillness, has a spiritual power. It changes the atmosphere. One day, a young man came to Jiro's shop. He was angry. He claimed that a piece of silk he bought was defective. He was shouting, waving the fabric, demanding a refund and an apology. The other customers watched, tense. Jiro stood behind the counter. He felt the wave of the man's anger hitting him. It was hot and sharp. He breathed. In, out. He didn't put up a wall. He let the anger pass through him like wind through a screen door. He looked at the fabric. There was indeed a small flaw. He looked at the man. He saw the man's clothes were worn. He saw the desperation in his eyes. This wasn't about the silk. This was about money. This was about feeling cheated by life. I see the flaw, Jiro said quietly. You are right, I apologize. This should not have been sold as first quality. The man stopped shouting. He had expected a fight. He had expected denial. The admission disarmed him. I will refund your money, Jiro continued. And please, keep the silk. You can use it for lining or for practice. The man stared at him. His face crumpled. The anger drained away, leaving shame and relief. Thank you, the man whispered. I needed this money for medicine. I hope your family recovers, Jiro said. The transaction was over, but something else had happened. A potential conflict had been transformed into a moment of grace. The energy of the room shifted from hostility to warmth. This is skillful engagement. It is Aikido for the soul. You don't block the attack, you blend with it and redirect it towards harmony. Tonight, as you lie in bed, you may be replaying conflicts from your day. I should have said this. Why did they do that? Let those replays go. They are just ghosts. Instead, visualize how you want to be tomorrow. Visualize yourself moving through your day with a core of stillness. See yourself in a stressful meeting, breathing calmly, listening deeply, speaking clearly. See yourself dealing with a difficult person, seeing their pain, responding with firmness but without hate. See yourself doing your work with focus and ease, one task at a time. You are rehearsing the art of peace. You are preparing the ground for skillful action. The world needs your action, but it needs your sane action. It needs your grounded action. A frantic firefighter wastes water. A calm firefighter puts out the fire. Be the calm firefighter. Jiro eventually became known not just as a wealthy merchant, but as a wise elder of the city. People came to him for advice on disputes. The city council asked him to mediate conflicts. He didn't seek these roles. They came to him because he was a vacuum of peace in a noisy world. Nature abhors a vacuum. People were drawn to his stillness because they were starving for it. He never forgot the lesson of the fire. Stop, breathe, see, act. It became his mantra. As you prepare to sleep, practice this sequence one last time. Stop. Let the body be still. Stop the fidgeting, stop the adjusting, just lie there. Breathe. Find the anchor, the slow, rhythmic tide. See. Look at the darkness behind your eyelids. Look at the spaciousness of your mind. See that there is no tiger in the room. There is only peace. Act. The action now is to let go. The action is to surrender, to sleep. Skillful engagement also means knowing when not to act. Knowing when to put the tool down, knowing when the day is done. The farmer works the field all day, but when the sun goes down, he does not try to pull the corn up to make it grow faster. He goes home, he rests, he trusts the earth to do the work in the dark. Your mind is the field. You have planted seeds of kindness, of awareness, of connection. Now, put down the hoe. Let the night water the seeds. Let the unconscious mind process and integrate. You don't need to supervise this part. Trust the process. The stillness you cultivate tonight is the fuel for the action of tomorrow. The deeper you rest, the more effective you will be. So, sleep is not a retreat from the world. It is the best preparation for serving it. Sleep is a strategic act of love. Feel the potential energy in your body, like a bow that is unstrung, resting. Tomorrow, you will string the bow. Tomorrow, you will aim. But tonight, just be the wood. Just be the potential. Jiro closed his eyes. The city sounds outside were a distant hum, a lullaby of life. He felt the satisfaction of a day lived well. Not a perfect day, but a day lived with intention. He felt the connection to his brother sleeping in the next room, to the beggars weaving rugs, to the man who bought the silk, to the master on the mountain. He was part of it all, and in that belonging he found his rest. Let yourself be part of it all. Let yourself be carried by the great river of the Tao. The river knows where it is going. You don't have to steer right now. Pull up the oars, lay back in the boat, look up at the stars, and drift. Drift into the silence that is the womb of all action. Drift into the peace that is the source of all power. Sleep and be renewed. The Bodhisattva's promise, living for the welfare of all. We have explored the stillness that births skillful action. We have seen how a calm mind can move through the chaos of a burning city or a troubled relationship with grace and effectiveness. But in the Buddhist tradition, there is a deepening of this path, a vow that transforms personal peace into a universal promise. This is the path of the Bodhisattva. A Bodhisattva is not a god or a supernatural being. A Bodhisattva is simply an awakened being who, having reached the threshold of ultimate liberation, pauses. Instead of stepping through the gate into personal nirvana, leaving the world of suffering behind, the Bodhisattva turns back. They look at the confusion, the pain, and the struggle of all living beings, and they make a radical, heartbreakingly beautiful promise. I will not enter the final peace until every single blade of grass has entered before me. This is the Bodhisattva's promise, to live not just for oneself, but for the welfare of all. It is the ultimate expansion of the heart. Let us return to Jiro. Years have passed since his time at the Temple of the Floating Cloud. His hair is now streaked with silver. His movements are slower, more deliberate. The small rug-weaving project has grown into a community center where the destitute find work, food, and dignity. His shop is no longer just a place of commerce, but a place of counsel. One winter evening, a traveler arrived at Jiro's door. He was a monk, wrapped in tattered robes, leaning on a staff. His face was weathered by wind and sun, but his eyes shone with a familiar light. It was Kaito, the young monk who had once dropped the potatoes in the temple kitchen. Jiro welcomed him with a deep bow. They sat by the charcoal brazier, sipping tea, the years melting away in the warmth of their reunion. "You have done much good here, Jiro," Kaito said, looking around at the simple, orderly room. "I hear stories of the merchant of peace, even in distant provinces." Jiro smiled, shaking his head. I just sell silk, Kaito, and I try not to add to the noise. No, Kaito said softly. It is more than that. You have taken the vow, haven't you? Even if you never spoke the words in a ceremony, you are living the vow. Jiro looked into the fire. I realized, he said slowly, that my own happiness was too small a container. When I was young, I wanted to be rich. Then I wanted to be peaceful. But even peace, if it is just my peace, feels lonely. It feels like eating a feast while others are starving outside the window. I cannot enjoy the meal. That is the bodhisattva heart, Kaito nodded. The realization that we are not separate. If your foot is in pain, your hand does not say, that is the foot's problem. The hand reaches down to rub the foot. The hand knows that the foot's pain is the body's pain. Kaito reached into his pack and pulled out a small scroll. I have been walking the pilgrimage route of the 33 temples. At each temple, I recited the 4 great vows. Do you know them? Jiro shook his head. I am a layman, Kaito. I know only the ledger and the loom. They are simple, Kaito said. He unrolled the scroll. The calligraphy was bold and sweeping. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to attain it. Jiro read the words. He felt a shiver run down his spine. Numberless? Jiro asked. How can one save numberless beings? It is an impossible task. That is the point, Kaito smiled. It is impossible. If you try to do it with your ego, you will be crushed. You will burn out in a week. But the vow is not a to-do list. It is a direction. It is a compass setting. You do not expect to reach the North Star, but you steer by it. The impossibility of the task breaks the limited mind. It forces you to rely on something bigger than your own energy. It forces you to rely on the great compassion of the universe itself. This concept is vital for us to understand. We often shrink from the idea of saving the world because it feels overwhelming. We think, I am just one person. I am tired. I can barely pay my rent. The Bodhisattva's promise is not a command to fix everything by Tuesday. It is an invitation to align your life with the force of love. When you align yourself with this vow, you are no longer pushing the cart alone. You are letting the wind of the Dharma fill your sails. You do what you can, where you can, with what you have. And you trust that your small act of kindness is part of a massive, invisible wave of healing. But Kaito, Jiro asked, doesn't this burden you? Carrying the sorrow of the world. Look at me, Kaito said. He stood up and did a little dance, his tattered robes swirling. He laughed, a clear, joyous sound. Do I look burdened? Jiro laughed too. No, you look lighter than air. That is the paradox. Kaito sat down, his eyes twinkling. When you live for yourself, you carry the heavy burden of I, my success, my failure, my reputation. It is a crushing weight. But when you live for others, the I becomes transparent. The wind blows right through it. There is no one there to be burdened. There is only the work. There is only the love. And love is weightless. This is the secret of the Bodhisattva. They are the happiest people in the world. Not because they ignore suffering, but because they have found a purpose that is larger than their own small drama. They have dissolved the knot of self-obsession. Think of a mother caring for a sick child. She is tired, yes. She is worried, yes. But she is not bored. She is not asking, what is the meaning of my life? Her meaning is right there, in her arms. Her love gives her an energy that goes beyond physical stamina. The Bodhisattva looks at every being, the annoying neighbor, the corrupt politician, the spider in the corner, with the eyes of that mother. You are suffering. You are confused. How can I help? Jiro spent the next few days with Kaito visiting the community center. He watched Kaito interact with the weavers. Kaito didn't preach. He sat at the loom and learned to weave. He told jokes. He listened to their stories of hardship. He held the hand of a man who was dying of a cough. Jiro saw that Kaito's presence was a kind of medicine. He didn't cure the cough, but he cured the fear. He didn't fix the poverty, but he fixed the sense of worthlessness. The Bodhisattva has many faces, Kaito told Jiro one evening. Sometimes he is a teacher, sometimes she is a nurse, sometimes he is a bridge builder, sometimes she is just a person who listens. You do not need to be a monk. You are a bodhisattva of silk. You wrap people in warmth. Jiro thought about this. A bodhisattva of silk. It sounded funny, but it felt true. He provided warmth. He provided beauty. He provided fair dealings. He realized that every profession, every role, can be a vehicle for the vow. The baker who bakes bread with love is feeding the world. The cleaner who makes a room spotless is creating a sanctuary. The parent who raises a kind child is gifting the future. Tonight, as you lie in the dark, consider your own life. You do not need to change your job or move to a monastery to walk this path. You just need to change your intention. You can make a quiet vow right now, in the privacy of your own heart. May my life be of benefit. May my words bring peace. May my actions reduce suffering. Just saying these words changes the chemistry of your mind. It shifts you from a state of contraction, worrying about yourself, to a state of expansion. It connects you to the lineage of all the great hearts who have ever lived. One night, a terrible blizzard struck the city. It was the worst in living memory. The snow piled up to the eaves. The wind howled like a banshee. Jiro and Kaito were safe inside, but Jiro was restless. I am thinking of the people under the bridge, Jiro said. The weavers. They have shelter, but do they have enough charcoal? Do they have enough rice? Then let us go, Kaito said simply, reaching for his staff. In this storm, Jiro asked, it is dangerous. The vow does not say, I will save them only when the weather is nice, Kaito smiled. They bundled up in layers of wool and silk. They took a sled loaded with charcoal and sacks of rice. They stepped out into the white fury. The wind tried to push them back. The snow blinded them. Every step was a struggle. Jiro felt the cold biting his face. He felt his old legs protesting. Why am I doing this? A voice whispered. I could be by the fire. But then he looked at Kaito, trudging ahead, breaking the trail. And he remembered the vow. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. He wasn't doing it for credit. He wasn't doing it to be a hero. He was doing it because he couldn't not do it. His heart wouldn't let him stay by the fire while his brothers froze. They reached the community center. The roof was groaning under the snow. Inside, the men were huddled together, shivering. The fire had burned down to embers. When the door opened and Jiro and Kaito stumbled in, covered in snow like two yetis, the men gasped. Master Jiro, one cried, you came! They built up the fire. They cooked a pot of rice gruel, the room filled with warmth and the smell of food. Jiro sat with a bowl of hot water, his hands shaking from the cold. But his heart was blazing. He looked at the faces of the men, faces that had been tight with fear, now relaxing into relief. He felt a joy so intense it brought tears to his eyes. It was the joy of the bodhisattva, the joy of being useful, the joy of connection. He realized that in saving them, he had saved himself. He had saved himself from the cold prison of indifference. He had saved himself from the smallness of comfort. This is the secret, Kaito whispered to him as the men ate. We think we are the helpers, and they are the helped. But really, they are helping us. They are giving us the chance to open our hearts. They are teaching us generosity. We should bow to them. And so, in the flickering light of the fire, amidst the howling storm, Jiro bowed to the beggars. And they, sensing the profound respect, bowed back. In that circle of bows, the hierarchy of the world dissolved. There was no rich merchant, no poor beggar, no holy monk. They were just beings, warming each other against the cold night. This is the promise you can make to yourself tonight. You can promise to be a source of warmth. You don't have to go out in a blizzard. You can start right where you are. You can be warm to your partner who is snoring. You can be warm to your own tired body. You can be warm to the memory of a mistake you made. The Bodhisattva's promise begins at home. It begins in the bedroom. I vow to be kind to this being called me, so that I can be kind to others. I vow to rest this body, so that it can serve tomorrow. Sleep, in this context, becomes a holy act. It is not just shutting down, it is recharging the instrument of love. When you sleep well, you are less irritable. You are more patient. You have more capacity to listen. So, dedicate your sleep to the welfare of all beings. Say to yourself, I am going to sleep now, not just for my own pleasure, but so that I can be a better father, a better mother, a better friend, a better citizen. May my rest bring peace to the world. This dedication gives your sleep a noble purpose. It takes the pressure off. You aren't trying to sleep. You are engaging in a practice of restoration for the benefit of the whole. As Jiro walked back home the next morning, the storm had passed. The city was covered in a pristine blanket of white. The sun was rising, turning the snow into a field of diamonds. He felt tired, yes. His bones ached. But he felt clean. He looked at the sun and thought of the vow. Inexhaustible. Yes, the suffering is inexhaustible, but so is the love. So is the courage. So is the human spirit. He realized that he didn't have to finish the job, he just had to do his part. The river flows to the ocean. The river doesn't ask, will I ever get there? It just flows. The Bodhisattva flows towards compassion. That is the nature of the stream. Tonight, let yourself flow. You have done your part for today. You have walked your miles. You have carried your load. Now, put the load down. The universe will carry it for a while. Visualize the bodhisattvas of the past and present. Imagine them surrounding your bed. Kannon with her 1,000 arms. Jizo with his staff, protecting travelers. Imagine the doctors, the nurses, the teachers, the kind strangers. They are all standing guard. They are all wishing you well. You are part of their team. You can rest now. Your shift is over. Another shift is taking over, the night shift of the stars and the angels. Feel the support of this great lineage. You are not alone in your desire to be good. You are supported by a history of goodness that stretches back to the beginning of time. Let the vow be a soft blanket that covers you. I vow to save them. How? By resting, by healing, by letting go. In the deep silence of the night, the distinction between saver and saved disappears. There is only the breathing. There is only the peace. There is only the one heart beating in the chest of the universe. Jiro lay down on his tatami mat. He closed his eyes. He didn't need to count sheep. He counted blessings. He counted the faces of the people he loved. He counted the moments of connection. And with a smile on his lips, he drifted into the boundless ocean of the Bodhisattva's dream. A dream where everyone is safe, everyone is fed, and everyone is loved. Join him in that dream. It is a real place. It exists in the potential of the human heart. And every time you rest in love, you bring that dream a little closer to reality. Sleep well, dear Bodhisattva. The world needs your light. But first, it needs your rest. Good night. The lotus unfolds, harmonizing inner peace and outer world. We have traveled a long way together. We began by acknowledging the whispers of disquiet that disturb our peace. We found the anchor of the breath, learned to observe our thoughts like leaves on a river, and warmed ourselves by the fire of self-kindness. We extended that warmth to others, recognized the shimmering web of connection that binds us all, and discovered that true action arises from stillness. We even dared to make the Bodhisattva's promise, dedicating our lives to the welfare of all. Now we arrive at the synthesis. We arrive at the moment where the inner work and the outer life are no longer two separate things, but a single, fluid motion. This is the unfolding of the lotus. The lotus has its roots in the mud, the messiness of the world, but its flower opens to the sun, pristine and beautiful. It does not reject the mud, it transforms it. Let us return to Jiro one last time. He is an old man now. His hair is white as the winter snow, and his face is a map of deep lines, etched by smiles and sorrows alike. He has retired from the daily operations of the silk business, leaving it in the capable hands of his nephew. He spends his days in a small cottage on the edge of the city, where the noise of the market fades into the rustle of the bamboo grove. He is not a monk living in a cave. He is not a merchant chasing gold. He is something else, a human being who has integrated the mountain and the marketplace. One spring morning, Jiro sat on his veranda, watching the cherry blossoms fall. A young woman approached the gate. She was dressed in fine clothes, but her face was clouded with distress. It was his granddaughter, Hannah. "Grandfather," she said, bowing low, "I need your wisdom. My life is pulling me in 1,000 directions. I have my studies, my duties to the family, my friends, my art. I feel like I am being torn apart. I try to meditate, but as soon as I stand up, the chaos returns. How do you stay so calm? How do you balance it all?" Jiro patted the cushion beside him. "Sit, little flower, have some tea." He poured the tea with slow, deliberate movements. The steam rose in a spiral, dancing in the morning light. "You ask about balance," Jiro said, his voice raspy but warm. "But balance is not a static thing. It is not like a stone sitting on a table. It is like a bird flying in the wind. The bird must constantly adjust its wings. It must dip and rise. If it tries to hold its wings rigid, it will fall." "But how do I adjust?" Hannah asked. "The wind is so strong." "You must learn to be the lotus," Jiro said. "Tell me, where does the lotus grow?" "In the pond," Hannah replied. "In the mud." "Yes, in the mud, the muck, the decaying leaves, the dirt. This is the world, Hannah. The deadlines, the arguments, the traffic, the disappointments. You cannot escape the mud. If you try to pull the lotus out of the mud and put it on a clean marble table, it will die." Jiro took a sip of tea. "For a long time, I thought I had to escape the mud to find peace. I ran to the mountains. I tried to shut out the world. But the master taught me that the mud is the food for the flower. The challenges you face, the busy schedule, the difficult people, these are the nutrients. They are teaching you patience. They are teaching you resilience. They are teaching you compassion." "So I should just accept the chaos?" Hannah frowned. "Accept it, yes, but do not drown in it. The lotus grows out of the mud, through the water, and opens into the air. It is rooted in the mess, but it is not of the mess. Its petals are untouched by the dirt. This image is the key to harmonizing the inner and outer worlds. We often think we have two lives: our spiritual life, where we are calm, meditate, and read wise books, and our real life, where we are stressed, rush around, and get angry. We see them as enemies. We think the real life is ruining the spiritual life. But the path of the unfolding lotus suggests that there is only one life. The traffic jam is not an interruption to your practice. It is your practice. The difficult conversation is not a distraction from your peace. It is the place where your peace is tested and strengthened. When you are studying, Jiro told Hannah, just study. Be fully with the book. Do not worry about the tea ceremony later. When you are with your friends, be fully with your friends. Do not worry about the exam. This is how the lotus blooms, one petal at a time. It does not try to open all at once. It opens to the sun of the present moment. Hannah looked at the cherry blossoms drifting onto the moss. But grandfather, sometimes I feel I lose my center. I get angry. I get jealous. Then I feel guilty, like I have failed. Jiro laughed softly. Oh, guilt. That is a heavy stone to carry. Listen, Hannah. Even the Buddha felt pain. Even the masters get annoyed. The difference is, they don't invite the annoyance to stay for dinner. They feel it, they acknowledge it, and they let it go. They return to the center. He picked up a small wind chime that was lying on the table. He held it up. When the wind blows, this chime makes a sound. It reacts. But when the wind stops, does the chime keep ringing? Does it say, I wish I had rung louder? Does it say, I hope the wind blows again soon? No. It returns to silence, immediately. Be like the chime, Jiro whispered. Respond to the world. Laugh, cry, work, play. But when the moment passes, return to silence. Do not carry the echo. This is the secret of living in the world without being consumed by it. We tend to carry the echo of our day long after the event is over. We lie in bed at night and the chime is still ringing in our heads. He said this. I should have done that. The practice of the lotus is to let the echo fade, to trust the silence. Jiro stood up, leaning on his cane. Come, let us walk to the market. The market? Hannah was surprised. But it is so loud. We will bring the silence with us, Jiro winked. They walked through the streets. The market was in full swing. Fishmongers shouted, children ran. The smells were intense. Hannah watched her grandfather. He moved through the crowd like a fish swimming in water. He didn't push. He didn't rush. He yielded to the flow. When someone bumped into him, he bowed and smiled. When a beggar asked for a coin, he gave it with a look of genuine kindness. He stopped at a stall selling vegetables. The vendor, a grumpy-looking man, was yelling at his assistant. Jiro waited until the man stopped for a breath. Then he picked up a daikon radish. This is a magnificent radish, Jiro said, admiring it like a jewel. You must have grown it with great skill. The vendor stopped. He looked at the radish. He looked at Jiro. The anger drained from his face, replaced by a flicker of pride. Yes, the soil was good, this year. I will take 2, Jiro said, and thank you for your hard work. As they walked away, Hannah whispered, You changed the energy of the whole stall. I just watered the lotus, Jiro smiled. Everyone has a lotus inside them, Hannah. But often it is covered in dust. If you speak to the dust, to their anger, their greed, you get more dust. If you speak to the lotus, to their goodness, their skill, the lotus responds. This is how we harmonize the world. We don't force it to be peaceful. We see the peace that is already there, hidden, and we call it out. We treat the world as if it is already sacred, and slowly it begins to reveal its sacredness to us. Tonight, as you look back on your day, try to see where you watered the lotus and where you watered the dust. Did you react to someone's anger with your own anger? That is watering the dust. Did you respond to a challenge with a deep breath and a calm mind? That is watering the lotus. And forgive yourself for the times you watered the dust. You are a gardener in training. Tomorrow, you will have another chance. Jiro and Hannah returned to the cottage as the sun began to set. The sky was a canvas of violet and rose. Grandfather, Hannah said, I think I understand. I don't need to quit my life to find peace. I need to bring peace into my life. Precisely, Jiro nodded. The monastery is not a building. It is your body. The abbot is your mind. The bell is your breath. Wherever you go, you are in the temple. They sat on the veranda again, watching the first stars appear. There is one last thing, Jiro said softly. The lotus eventually fades, the petals fall. The seed pod remains. It drops into the mud to create new life. This is the cycle. Do not be afraid of endings. Do not be afraid of sleep. Sleep is the falling of the petals. It is the return to the mud, to the source, to rest and regenerate. We often resist sleep because it feels like a loss of control, a small death. We want to keep the flower open. We want to keep doing, keep being. But the flower must close. The night must come. Harmonizing with the world means harmonizing with its rhythms, the rhythm of day and night, activity and rest, inhale and exhale. If you fight the rhythm, you suffer. If you surrender to it, you float. Imagine you are a boat on the ocean. During the day, you sail, you catch the wind, you navigate. But at night, you drop the sails, you drift. You trust the ocean to hold you. You don't try to sail in the dark. Jiro closed his eyes. He felt the cool evening breeze on his face. He listened to the bamboo. Swoosh, creak, swoosh. It was the music of the universe. He felt a profound sense of completion. He had lived a full life. He had been a frantic young man, a seeking traveler, a successful merchant, a wise elder. He had been the mud, and he had been the flower, and now he was just the space in which it all happened. "Hannah," he whispered, "look at the moon." The full moon had risen, above the trees, bathing the garden in silver light. "It reflects in the pond," Hannah said. "Does the moon get wet?" Jiro asked. "No." "Does the water get broken by the moon?" "No." Be like that. Be in the world, but not wet by it. Reflect everything, but hold on to nothing. This is the ultimate freedom. To move through life with a heart that is open, but unattached. To love deeply, but to know that everything changes. To work hard, but to know that the result is not in your hands. As you lie in bed tonight, practice this moon in the water mind. Let the events of the day float in your memory. See them clearly, the conversations, the tasks, the feelings. But do not hold them. Let them be reflections. You are the water. You are the stillness that holds the reflection. The reflection passes, the water remains. Jiro felt his eyelids growing heavy. It was a good heaviness, a sweet heaviness. He knew that tomorrow the sun would rise. Hannah would go back to her studies with a lighter heart. The market would open. The world would go on spinning. He didn't need to push it. He didn't need to worry about it. He could just let go. "Good night, grandfather," Hannah whispered, covering him with a blanket. "Good night, little lotus," Jiro murmured. He drifted into a space that was neither waking nor sleeping, a space of pure, luminous awareness. He felt the boundaries of his body dissolving. He was the bamboo. He was the wind. He was the moon. He was the mud. It was all one, and it was all good. You too are part of this oneness. Your struggle to find peace is the struggle of the universe to know itself. Your desire to rest is the desire of the universe to return to its source. You are not separate from the great unfolding. You are the unfolding. Allow the petals of your mind to close now, one by one. Close the petal of planning. Close the petal of worrying. Close the petal of regretting. Close the petal of thinking. Fold them in gently. Protect the golden center of your heart. The day is done, the flower is sleeping. The roots are safe in the deep, dark, nourishing mud of the unconscious, drawing up strength for tomorrow. There is nothing you need to do now. The harmony is already established. The balance is already there. Gravity is holding you. The earth is spinning you. The stars are watching you. You are perfectly held in the embrace of the cosmos. You are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you need to do. Resting. Let the peace of the garden fill your room. Smell the imaginary scent of the night-blooming jasmine. Feel the cool air. Hear the distant chime returning to silence. Silence. Stillness. Peace. The lotus has folded. The world is at rest. And you are one with it. Drift on this thought. I am the moon in the water. I am the moon in the water. Shining, still, untouched, free. Sleep now, in the perfect harmony of being. Hannah sat there for a long time, watching the rise and fall of her grandfather's chest. The rhythm was slow and steady, like the tide of a calm sea. In the presence of his deep rest, she felt her own internal speedometer slowing down. The frantic energy of her studies, the pressure of her social obligations, the fear of the future, all of it began to settle, like dust in a quiet room. She realized that Jiro was not just teaching her with words, he was teaching her with his being. His very presence was a transmission of the truth that peace is possible, right here, in the midst of a life fully lived. She looked out at the garden. The moonlight had turned the gravel into a river of silver. The rocks cast long, dark shadows that looked like sleeping islands. She listened. The wind chime gave a single, soft tink as a breeze passed through, and then returned to silence. It was exactly as Jiro had said. The chime did not hold on to the sound. The garden did not hold on to the wind. Everything was in a state of constant, fluid passage. Hannah realized that her suffering came from trying to freeze the frame. She wanted the good moments to stay forever, and the bad moments to never happen. She was fighting the flow. But looking at the garden, she saw the beauty of the flow. The cherry blossom was beautiful because it was falling. The moon was beautiful because it was moving across the sky. If the moon stayed in one spot, it would become stagnant. If the flower never fell, the fruit could never grow. She took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of the night, damp earth, pine needles, and the faint, sweet aroma of incense from the shrine. She let the air fill her lungs, expanding her ribcage, and then she let it go. With the exhale, she imagined she was breathing out her resistance. She was breathing out the need to control. She was breathing out the Hannah, who was trying so hard to be perfect. In the space that remained, she felt a new sensation. It was a feeling of lightness. It was the feeling of the lotus floating on the water. She was supported. She didn't have to hold herself up. The universe was doing the holding. This is the final secret of harmonizing the inner and outer worlds. Trust. You must trust that the world is not out to get you. You must trust that the ground will hold your weight. You must trust that the air will fill your lungs. You must trust that the night will bring rest and the morning will bring light. When we lose this trust, we become rigid. We tighten our muscles. We clench our jaws. We try to micromanage reality. But when we trust, we soften. We become porous. We let the world in, and we let ourselves out. Jiro, in his half-sleep, felt this softening. He was no longer Jiro the merchant or Jiro the grandfather. He was simply a field of sensation. He felt the coolness of the tatami mat against his back. He felt the warmth of the blanket. He heard the distant hoot of an owl. These sensations were not happening to him. They were happening as him. The boundary between inside and outside had dissolved. The owl was hooting inside his consciousness. The wind was blowing through his mind. He was the lotus root, deep in the mud. The mud was dark and cool and rich. It was the collective unconscious, the storehouse of all memories, all dreams. He felt connected to the roots of the bamboo, to the roots of the pine, to the roots of the mountains. In this deep, subterranean connection, there was no conflict. There was only a vast, silent network of life, feeding and supporting itself. As you lie here, invite this sense of deep, root-like connection. Feel the back of your body touching the bed. Visualize that contact point not as a barrier, but as a gateway. Imagine that you are sending roots down into the mattress, down through the floor, down into the earth. You are anchoring yourself in the stability of the planet. The earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, yet it holds you perfectly still. It does not drop you. It does not shake you off. It carries you through the cosmos with absolute precision and care. Harmonizing with the outer world means surrendering to this ride. It means acknowledging that you are a passenger on a magnificent vessel. You don't have to steer the stars. You don't have to push the river. You can just lie back and watch the scenery of your own life unfold. Hannah stood up quietly, careful not to wake him. She adjusted the screen door to let in a little more of the cool night air. She looked at Jiro one last time, his face smoothed of all lines, a faint smile on his lips. He looked like a statue of the Buddha, not carved from stone, but made of flesh and breath. She bowed to him, a bow of deep gratitude. Then she bowed to the moon. Then she bowed to the garden. She went to her own room, carrying the silence with her like a precious jewel. She lay down, and for the first time in months, she did not reach for a book or worry about tomorrow. She simply closed her eyes and became the water reflecting the moon. The house settled into a profound stillness. The only sound was the breathing of the two sleepers, harmonizing with the breathing of the night. In and out, dark and light, sound and silence. The lotus had folded, but the dream of the lotus, the dream of peace, was just beginning to open in the vast, star-filled sky of the mind. Resting in boundless awareness, the deep sleep of universal love. We have arrived at the final threshold. We have walked the path from the agitated mind to the anchored breath, from the warmth of self-kindness to the radiance of compassion, and from the skillful engagement with the world to the deep harmony of the lotus. Now there is no more walking to be done. There is no more effort to be made. The journey of doing is over. The journey of being begins. Tonight, we enter the realm of boundless awareness. This is not a state of emptiness in the sense of a vacuum, but emptiness in the sense of the sky, vast, open, and capable of, holding everything without being burdened by anything. It is the deep sleep of universal love where the small I dissolves into the great we, and where we find our ultimate rest in the arms of the mystery that birthed us. Let us return to the image of the ocean. Throughout our journey, we have been like waves, sometimes turbulent, sometimes calm, always moving, always changing. We have identified with the shape of the wave, with its height, its speed, its foam. But now, as the night reaches its zenith, the wind dies down completely. The wave begins to subside. It does not die, it simply returns to its source. It remembers that it was never really a wave separate from the ocean. It was always just water. Jiro, in his deep sleep, has entered this ocean. His dreams are no longer narratives of buying and selling, of winning and losing. They are washes of color and light. He dreams he is a cloud drifting over the mountains. He dreams he is the rain falling on the thirsty rice paddies. He dreams he is the stone sitting silently in the garden. In these dreams, there is no Jiro. There is only experience. There is only consciousness witnessing itself in 1,000 different forms. This state, which the Zen masters call big mind or no mind, is the natural home of the soul. During the day, we live in small mind, the mind of details, schedules, and identities. Small mind is useful. It helps us cross the street and pay our bills, but it is tiring. It is like wearing a tight pair of shoes. At night, we have the permission to take the shoes off. We have the permission to step out of the small mind and stretch out into the big mind. Imagine you are lying in a small, cluttered room. This is your daily mind, filled with thoughts and worries. Now, imagine the walls of the room suddenly dissolve. The ceiling dissolves. You are lying in an open field under the Milky Way. The air is fresh and cool. The silence is immense. You are no longer contained by the walls. You are contained only by the horizon, which is infinite. This is the invitation of tonight, to dissolve the walls. Let us begin this final dissolution with the body. You are lying comfortably. Feel the contact with the bed. But now, instead of feeling the boundary where your skin ends and the sheets begin, imagine that boundary softening. Imagine your body is made of light or of mist. The atoms that make up your body are spinning in vast amounts of empty space. You are more space than matter. Feel that space. Feel the space inside your chest. Feel the space inside your head. Feel the space inside your limbs. This inner space is continuous with the outer space of the room. There is no real separation. The air inside your lungs is the same air outside. The heat of your body is the same heat as the sun. As Jiro slept, his breathing became so shallow and quiet it was almost imperceptible. He was sipping the air, not gulping it. He was existing on the subtle energy of the universe, qi. In this state, the body heals, it repairs the cells, it knits the bones, it cleanses the toxins. This healing happens best when the manager, the ego, is off duty. When we stop trying to control the body's innate intelligence takes over. It knows exactly what to do. It has been doing it for millions of years. Trust this intelligence. You don't need to tell your heart to beat. You don't need to tell your blood to flow. You don't need to tell your dreams to come. It is all happening of its own accord. You are being lived. Surrender to the one who is living you. Surrender to the great life force. Now, let us dissolve the mind. We have practiced watching thoughts. Now, let us watch the space between the thoughts. Usually, we are so fascinated by the furniture of the mind, the ideas, the memories, that we don't notice the room itself. But the room, the awareness, is the miracle. It is always there. It was there when you were a child. It was there when you were happy. It was there when you were sad. It is there now. It has no age. It has no gender. It has no history. It is just pure, shining presence. Rest as that presence. Don't try to be mindful of something. Just be the awareness. Like a mirror that reflects everything but holds on to nothing. If a sound comes, a car passing, a floorboard creaking, let it pass through you. You are the space in which the sound happens. You are not disturbed by it, any more than the sky is disturbed by a bird flying through it. Jiro's consciousness was now floating in this boundless sky. He felt a profound sense of benevolence. This awareness was not cold or indifferent. It was warm. It was loving. In Buddhism, wisdom and compassion are said to be the two wings of a bird. You cannot have one without the other. When you see clearly that you are connected to everything, wisdom, you naturally love everything, compassion. This love is not an emotion that comes and goes. It is the fabric of the universe. It is the gravity that holds the stars together. It is the attraction that pulls the electron to the proton. It is the fundamental yes of existence. Tonight, rest in that yes. The universe has said yes to you. It has given you life. It has given you this moment. Feel that acceptance. You are not an accident. You are not a mistake. You are a necessary expression of the whole. Without you, the universe would be incomplete. Imagine this universal love as a deep indigo ocean. You are sinking into it, deeper and deeper. It is warm, like the water of a tropical lagoon at night. It supports you completely. You don't have to swim. You don't have to tread water. You just have to let go. Down, 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 into the silence, into the peace, into the love. There is a story of a drop of water that was afraid of the ocean. "I will disappear," it cried. "I will lose myself." But when it finally fell into the sea, it realized its mistake. It didn't lose itself. It became the ocean. It gained the power of the tides. It gained the depth of the abyss. It gained the vastness of the horizon. Sleep is your opportunity to become the ocean. Don't be afraid to let go of the little drop of me. The ocean of we is waiting for you, and it is magnificent. Jiro, in the dreamless deep, met the essence of his grandfather and his grandfather's grandfather. He met the essence of the master. He met the essence of the beggar and the king. In the realm of boundless awareness, there are no strangers. We are all made of the same light. This is why we feel refreshed after deep sleep. We have dipped into the well of unity. We have drunk from the source. We have remembered who we really are. As you drift, let go of your name. Let go of your story. Let go of your face. Let go of your gender. Let go of your age. What is left? A pure point of light. A star in the dark. That is you. That is the eternal you, shining, silent, safe. This light does not need to achieve anything. It does not need to prove anything. It just is. It is the same light that shines in the eyes of a newborn baby. It is the same light that shines in the eyes of a sage. It is the light of consciousness itself. Rest in that light. Bathe in it. Let it wash away the dust of the road. Now, extend this awareness outwards. Imagine your awareness expanding beyond your room. It holds the house. It holds the street. It holds the city. It holds the forest, the mountains, the rivers. It holds the ocean. It holds the planet Earth, spinning blue and white in the dark. It holds the moon. It holds the sun. It holds the stars. You are vast. You are limitless. The problems that seemed so big a few hours ago are now tiny specks of dust in this vast space. They don't matter here. Here there is only the hum of the eternal. Om. Feel the peace of the stars. They burn steadily, without anxiety. They have been burning for billions of years. They are your ancestors. They are your family. You are made of their dust. When you look up at the night sky, you are looking at yourself. When you close your eyes and go into the dark, you are returning to the womb of the stars. Jiro's sleep was now total. The REM cycles had passed. He was in the delta state, the slow, deep waves of restorative slumber. In this state, the brain flushes out toxins, the memories are consolidated, the emotions are processed. It is a biological miracle, but it is also a spiritual sacrament. It is the daily death and the daily resurrection. We die to the old day so we can be born to the new one. Don't resist this little death. It is sweet. It is gentle. It is the shedding of a skin that has become too tight. Let it fall away. Let the old day go. It is gone. It is a dream. Let the future go. It is a dream. Only this deep, dark, velvety now exists. Imagine you are floating on a raft in the middle of a calm lake. The sky above is full of stars. The water below is full of stars, reflecting the sky. You are floating between two heavens. There is no up, no down, just suspension, just weightlessness. You are held by the water. You are watched by the stars. You are completely safe. There is nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to be. Just drift. If a thought comes, let it be a shooting star, flash, and it's gone. Don't make a wish. You already have everything. You have this moment. You have this peace. The love of the universe is not a sentimental love. It is a structural love. It is the fact that the air is exactly the right mixture for you to breathe. It is the fact that gravity is exactly the right strength to hold you. It is the fact that water quenches your thirst. The universe is designed to support life. It is designed to support you. Feel that support. Lean into it. Collapse into it. You don't have to hold yourself up anymore. Let the bed do it. Let the floor do it. Let the earth do it. Let the love do it. Jiro's heart beat slowly. Thump, thump. It was the drum of the cosmos. Every beat was a thank you. Thank you for this life. Thank you for this rest. Thank you for this silence. Gratitude is the gateway to sweet dreams. As you sink deeper, let a feeling of gratitude wash over you. Not for anything specific, but just for the fact of existence, for the miracle of consciousness, for the ability to feel peace. Thank your body for carrying you. Thank your mind for doing its best. Thank the darkness for its embrace. The darkness is not empty. It is full of potential. It is the fertile soil from which all dreams grow. Plant your seed of intention in this darkness. May I wake up refreshed. May I wake up kind. May I wake up clear. Now, cover the seed with the blanket of sleep. Trust it to grow. You are now entering the sanctuary of the deep self. Here, the noise of the world cannot reach you. Here, the judgments of others cannot reach you. Here, you are sovereign. You are whole. You are free. This is the place where the mystics go. This is the place where the poets go. This is the place where the soul is renewed. Drink from this water. It is the water of life. Feel a wave of relaxation starting at the top of your head. It flows down over your forehead, smoothing the lines. It flows over your eyes, quieting the vision. It flows over your jaw, unclenching the teeth. It flows down your neck, releasing the burden. It flows into your shoulders, melting the ice. It flows down your arms, out through your fingertips. It flows into your chest, slowing the heart. It flows into your belly, softening the knot. It flows into your hips, releasing the stance. It flows down your legs, out through your toes. Your whole body is heavy, warm, liquid. You are melting into the mattress. You are becoming a puddle of peace. There is no more you left to be tired. There is only the tiredness itself dissolving into rest. There is only the sleep. The boat has left the shore. The lights of the harbor are fading. You are out on the open sea. The waves are rocking you, gently, rhythmically. Rock and rest. Rock and rest. The stars are singing a lullaby of silence. Can you hear it? It is the sound of your own true nature. It is the sound of home. Jiro is sleeping. Hana is sleeping. The master is sleeping. The beggar is sleeping. The king is sleeping. The birds are sleeping. The trees are sleeping. The mountain is sleeping. You are joining the great global family of sleepers. You are in good company. We are all drifting together in the dark. We are all safe in the net of Indra. We are all held in the heart of the Buddha. Let go of the last rope. Let go of the last thought. Let go of the last bit of effort. Float. Drift. Sink. Into the blue. Into the black. Into the gold. The awareness remains, dim, soft, gentle, watching over you like a mother watching her child. I am here, it whispers. I have you. Sleep now. Sleep. The journey is complete. The circle is closed. The lotus has returned to the seed, the wave has returned to the ocean, and you have returned to yourself. Rest in this boundless love. Rest in this infinite peace forever and ever. In this moment. Good night. Good night. Good night.